Chapter 46-67. Oh. Didn't you say you weren't going? You said something about going against the rules, why are you thinking about it now? Xiao Hua was very surprised, but after a moment, he slapped his forehead and said, I understand, I'm afraid Empress Dowager missed you and issued an imperial decree? Hee, Xiao Hua is indeed smart. Xian's other white finger tapped Xiao Hua's forehead and laughed. That's great. Xiao Hua said with a smile, with you accompanying me, I won't be afraid of getting lost. That's true. Hearing this, Xian also looked at Xiao Hua strangely. I've never seen a supreme being cultivator who could lose himself. You didn't before, but you do now. Xiao Hua replied with a smile, then turned around and asked Biyao, when did you return? Xiao Hua's question was extremely meaningless. Rather than saying it was a question, it was better to say it was to cover up the awkwardness of him and Xian being spied on by others. Biyao naturally didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly flew over and said, reporting to Sect Master, Disciple just returned and was kowtowing to Her Highness when Empress Dowager issued an imperial decree. Disciple originally didn't want to come, but Her Highness said Disciple had meritorious service, and Empress Dowager's imperial decree also mentioned Disciple, allowing Disciple to follow to Lingyun's side palace. All right, then come with us. Xiao Hua smiled and nodded. Then, the two sweetly urged their figures and rushed into the 9 heavens. Biyao followed closely behind, flying towards the earth, fire, wind, lightning. After flying for half an hour, astral winds appeared high in the sky. Xian stopped and pulled her arm out of Xiao Hua's and said with a smile, Xiao Hua, Lingyun's side palace isn't within the Immortal Palace. I don't know where His Majesty has placed it, so I can only open His Majesty's imperial decree and Empress Dowager's imperial decree and let the patrol envoy lead the way. Oh. Lingyun's side palace isn't within the Immortal Palace? Xiao Hua asked curiously, then why did His Majesty dare to invite the 4 great clans again? Xian explained, the Immortal Palace and hidden Immortal Continent's time is different. A day in the Immortal Palace hides an immortal for a year. If His Majesty is in charge of the affairs in Lingyun's side palace, how can he command the Immortal Palace troops to resist the strange insects? Of course, if it was an emergency, His Majesty had other ways to deal with it. However, there was no need to be so anxious this time. His Majesty might have used the celestial imperial artifact of the heavenly court to set up the Lingyun side palace outside the Immortal Palace. As long as the immortal imperial equipment is not too far away from the Immortal Palace, His Majesty's golden throne can still be activated. So that's how it is. Xiao Hua nodded, the Immortal Palace really has a lot of secrets. If you hadn't told me, I really wouldn't have known. Your fortune gate has a lot of secrets. The corners of Xian's mouth curled up, and she said with a smile, I've heard that there are stories about the 10 elders of the sect. I've been counting them, but I still don't know who they are. Do you want to know? Xiao Hua rolled his eyes and said eloquently, if you want to know, just say it. If you don't say it, how would I know you want to know? Although you look at me with sincerity, you still have to tell me what you want to know. Do you really want to know? Then let me tell you. Do you really want to know? Don't tell me you really want to know. Xian was stunned when she heard this, and then she laughed until she swayed back and forth. When tears came out of her eyes, she only said one word, no. Beside her, Biyao also laughed when she heard this, but she didn't dare to be rude like Xian. She covered her mouth and stomach, holding it in really hard. All right, since you don't want to know, then I don't need to tell you. Xiao Hua shrugged, and replied somewhat innocently, you said you don't want to know. It's not that I don't want to tell you. Xiao Lang, do you need to eat a spirit fruit to moisten your throat? As Xian said this, she also pretended to take out a red spirit fruit from her Qingquan bag and handed it to Xiao Hua. That. Xiao Hua didn't look at the spirit fruit, but looked at Xian's red lips. He swallowed his saliva and said in a low voice, I should moisten my throat. Humph, don't you dare. Xian curled her lips and said, "Don't even think about it now." As she said this, Xian stuffed the spirit fruit into Xiaohua's mouth, and without waiting for Xiaohua to do anything, she raised her hand, and a ball of multicolored light appeared from her hand. Within the multicolored light, a brocade that was several feet in size appeared. This brocade was gold in color, and a lifelike phoenix was embroidered on it. Around the phoenix were many armor inscriptions, and these armor inscriptions were like 100 birds flying around the phoenix. A moment later, a faintly discernible cry sounded from the brocade, and the phoenix flapped its wings and flew out from the multicolored light. Boom, boom, boom. Hundreds of vast chi pillars appeared from the void and fell into the phoenix's illusory figure. Although the vast chi pillars were only the size of a thumb, in a few breaths, the phoenix grew to about 100 feet in size. As the phoenix spread its wings, the illusory figure crashed into the earth, fire, wind, and lightning and disappeared. Interesting. Xiaohua faintly smiled and also took out a golden brocade from his bosom. This brocade's luster and multicolored light was no different from a new one. However, a dragon shape rushed out from it. This dragon shape was different from a real dragon. There were no dragon scales on its body, only an extremely large amount of inscriptions flowing within the dragon shape. Moreover, around the dragon shape, there were also images of hundreds of beasts prostrating themselves on the ground and worshipping it. Roar. The dragon's shape roared several times, and crashed into the earth, fire, wind, and lightning. Unlike the phoenix, after the dragon's shape passed, the earth, fire, wind, and lightning didn't close. Instead, a colorful passage that looked like a dragon pattern appeared, and a whistling wind blew out from this passage. Darling Xiao. Seeing the passage appear, Xian hurriedly whispered, "Where are the Thunder Immortal and the Celestial Being? If possible, please ask them to show themselves first, and wait until we reach the Lingyun Side Palace to let them come out. It's not very polite. Moreover, it's not very respectful to them." "You're right, we should do that." Xiaohua nodded in agreement, and took out the Kunlun mirror. Under the light, Thunder Immortal and the Celestial Being flew out, and after greeting Xian, they stood in midair. "Oh right." Thunder Immortal looked at Xian and asked, "Princess Xian, I have a question to ask." "Immortal, please ask." Xian hurriedly asked. "Is the Jade Pool in the Lingyun Side Palace?" Thunder Immortal asked, "I know that we are going to the Lingyun Side Palace, but I didn't know that we have to participate in the Jade Pool gathering, so I asked." "Oh, it's like this." Xian smiled and explained, "The Jade Pool is different from the Jade Mountain. The Jade Pool is an immortal imperial equipment of Empress Dowager, and after it is activated, it will reveal a strange realm of the heavenly court. The scenery in this strange realm is extremely beautiful, and rarely seen in the world. Therefore, if there is an important banquet that requires Empress Dowager to appear, Empress Dowager will use the Jade Pool to entertain guests." As time passed, it became known as the Jade Pool Gathering. His Majesty is currently in the Lingyun Side Palace, so as long as Empress Dowager shows the Jade Pool in the Lingyun Side Palace, wouldn't it be the Jade Pool Gathering? "Oh, I see." The Celestial Being curled his lips and shouted, "Isn't this the so-called inviting the monarch into a trap?" His Majesty and Empress Dowager are the leaders of Confucian cultivators, so they definitely wouldn't do this. Xian pursed her lips and smiled. In just a few minutes, the sound of gongs and drums came from the passageway, and then a group of immortal soldiers and immortal generals flew out from the passageway. After flying out, they didn't go forward, but lined up in front of the passageway, and the one who flew out behind them was actually Taibai Jinxing. Xian had already pulled her hand out of Xiaohua's palm, and now seeing Taibai Jinxing fly out, she was slightly surprised. After she whispered a few words to Xiaohua, Taibai Jinxing had already flown to Xiaohua. Taibai Jinxing swung his horsetail whisk, cupped his hands and saluted, "Greetings, Master Xiao Lei." "Greetings, Thunderbolt Immortal and Senior Celestial Being." Xiaohua and the others didn't dare to be negligent, and hurriedly went forward to return the salute. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Tai Bai Jinxing raised his head with a smile and looked at Xian, but he didn't go forward. Instead, he said, "Earlier, I left in a hurry at Longevity Town, so I didn't have time to congratulate the 9th princess. Today, I have the important task of welcoming Master Shaolei, so it's inconvenient for me to greet you. When the 9th princess's big day comes, I'll prepare a big gift to congratulate the 9th princess." "Lord Tai Bai Jinxing, you're too polite." Xian replied with a smile, "You're an important minister of the Immortal Palace, so there's no need for formalities. When the time comes, you'll just have to be there to congratulate me." Boom boom. While the two were talking, the earth, fire, wind, and thunder palace to their left let out another roaring sound. A cloud flew down like a waterfall, and a flying phoenix palanquin surrounded by dozens of women in palace attire flew out from the cloud. Seeing the flying phoenix palanquin appear, Xian and Bai An's eyes were filled with surprise, and they looked at each other. "Greetings, 9th princess." The dozens of women flew in front of Xian, and all of them knelt on the cloud, and said in unison. Xian waved her hand, and said indifferently, "You may rise." "Yes, Your Highness." The group of women stood up, and shouted again, "Your Highness, please get on the palanquin." "All right." Xian nodded thoughtfully, and then said to Xiao Hua, "I'll take my leave first. See you at the Lingyun Side Palace." "Farewell, 9th princess." Xiao Hua said with a smile, and cupped his hands. You may rise." Xian covered her mouth and smiled, and her figure landed on the flying phoenix palanquin. Bai and also hurriedly flew to the side of the flying phoenix palanquin. A group of palace maids lifted the palanquin, and the cloud under their feet flew backward into the earth, fire, wind, and thunder palace. The immortal soldiers and immortal generals at the side also bowed, and there was no lack of etiquette. After Xian and the others disappeared into the earth, fire, wind, and thunder palace, Tai Bai Jinxing said with a smile, "Master Shaolei, please don't blame us. This is the etiquette of our Confucian cultivators. With the 9th princess here, we need to send her back to the palace first. Don't blame us, don't blame us." Xiao Hua saw that Xian was valued by the Immortal Palace, so how could he blame her, and replied with a wave of his hand. After waiting for a while, Tai Bai Jinxing waved his horsetail whisk, and shouted, "Bring the Immortal Palace's heavenly horses over." "Yes, my lord." The group of immortal soldiers replied, and brought over 3 heavenly horses from not far away. The heavenly horses were more than 100 feet long, and their bodies emitted a milky white brilliance. Within the brilliance, countless strands of noble qi condensed into the shape of strips and danced like little snakes. Under the heavenly horses, lily-like clouds quietly bloomed as the horses' hooves landed. When the 3 heavenly horses flew in front of Xiao Hua and the others, Tai Bai Jinxing raised his hand with a smile, and said, "Master Shaolei, Thunder Immortal, immortal friend heavenly man, please." "Thank you, immortal friend." Xiao Hua knew that this was the Immortal Palace's etiquette, and no longer modestly declined. He raised his hand to signal, and floated onto a heavenly horse. Soon after, Thunder Immortal and Heavenly Man also each landed on a heavenly horse. Return to the Lingyun Side Palace. Tai Bai Jinxing stepped on a cloud, and flew to the side of Xiao Hua and the others, and ordered. "Yes, my lord." Following the group of immortal soldiers and immortal generals' reply, everyone urged their figures to enter the passage. When the last immortal soldier's figure disappeared, the entire passage slowly shrunk, and disappeared in a moment. The passage with dragon patterns seemed to be very long. Xiao Hua rode on the heavenly horse, and looked at the layers of earth, fire, wind, and lightning rushing behind him like flowing water, and couldn't help but be somewhat stunned. After a full meal's worth of time, layers of multicolored light appeared in front of the passage, and it was obvious that they had already reached the end. Xiao Hua looked at Tai Bai Jinxing, and said in a low voice, "Immortal friend, previously when I took out His Majesty's Imperial Edict, it seemed that in less than half a cup of tea's time, Immortal Friend appeared. Could it be that Immortal Friend didn't come from the Lingyun side palace? Tai Bai Jingxing said with a smile, of course. Master Xiao Hua is the distinguished guest of this Jade Pool meeting. This old man has already been waiting in the nearby earth, fire, wind, and lightning. I'll have to trouble you, Immortal Friend. Xiao Hua somewhat bitterly smiled, and cupped his hands. It's nothing. This old man's mission this time is to invite Master Xiao Hua to the Lingyun side palace, waiting for a moment. Is really nothing. Tai Bai Jingxing didn't hide his attitude, and reminded, I only hope that Master Xiao Hua can place the stability of the world as the most important thing, and make a good choice. Rest assured, Immortal Friend. Xiao Hua understood Tai Bai Jingxing's meaning, and replied, perhaps His Majesty is wrong in many ways, but if he thinks about the common people of the world, this Xiao won't oppose him. Then this old man can rest assured. Tai Bai Jingxing smiled and nodded. As the heavenly horse flew out of the passage, Xiao Hua's eyes unconsciously lit up. He saw that this was a huge space, and when he scanned it with his divine sense, he actually couldn't see the end of it. The entire space was surrounded by a starry sky, and in the center of the space, there was a huge palace towering majestically. At this moment, the style of this palace wasn't very clear, and Xiao Hua could only see that around the palace, there were millions of vast chi pillars rushing in from the starry sky, entering the space. When these vast chi neared the palace, they turned into multicolored clouds, and these clouds condensed together, and like a huge dragon, they rushed into the palace with a roar. That huge palace emitted a glaring brilliance, illuminating the entire space. Along with the brilliance filling the entire space, there was also a mighty and surging aura. Everyone who entered the space couldn't help but have a kind of longing in their heart, and even a kind of desire to worship. His Majesty is really generous. Xiao Hua looked at the palace, then retracted his gaze, and said to Tai Bai Jingxing. Tai Bai Jingxing slightly smiled, and replied, this Jade Pool meeting is the gathering of the supreme experts of the 3 continents. Thunder Temple, Great Sage Hall, and Dragon Island are all present. How could His Majesty be negligent? Oh. Dragon Island is also coming to the Dragon Clan? Is it the Great Elder, or the Second Elder? Xiao Hua asked with a little surprise. Tai Bai Jingxing thought for a moment, then replied, this old man doesn't dare to make wild guesses. Previously, the Great Elder came, and the Second Elder also came. Xiao Hua knew that Tai Bai Jingxing had been waiting in the Earth Fire Wind Lightning Palace all along, and presumably, he didn't know who would come to the Immortal Palace, so he didn't ask anymore. The Pegasus flew for another half a cup of tea's time, and that huge palace was finally near. Only now did Xiao Hua see it clearly. This was an incomparably huge palace, like a lofty mountain. What welcomed Xiao Hua was a huge palace door, and at this moment, the palace door was tightly shut, and above the palace door was a vermilion red. When one's gaze fell on this vermilion red, a boundless and imposing aura was emitted from within, and could instantly drown one's gaze. Within the vermilion red that was like a vast ocean, there were 81 golden stars nailed within. These stars were arranged neatly, and looked like a decoration, but between the stars, cryptic fluctuations were faintly revealed. It was clearly a mysterious defensive formation. Above the door of the palace, there was another 9-colored ray of light. Above the ray of light, there were several flamboyant words, Lingyun Side Palace. Waves of human race's destiny turned into dragons and phoenixes, wantonly swimming around these 4 large words. Xiao Hua's gaze moved away from the palace door, and landed on the immortal soldiers and generals standing neatly outside the palace door. These immortal generals were all 7th or 8th grade origin energy, and each of them was wearing armor and holding weapons in their hands. An indescribable solemn and murderous aura was emitted from their bodies, enveloping the entire palace door. Looking at these, Xiao Hua sighed, the Immortal Palace's foundation is really hard to find in this world. Just the Lingyun Side Palace alone is already so impressive. I'm afraid that my fortune gate won't be able to catch up in a short time. Just as he was thinking, those immortal soldiers and generals standing neatly suddenly became chaotic, and some immortal generals hurriedly flew to the side of the palace door. When Xiao Hua's divine sense swept over, he immediately showed a kind of surprise, and he looked at Tai Bai Jinxing with some confusion, while Tai Bai Jinxing's brows were tightly knitted, and he also looked in that direction. "Io, Daoist Xiao is here." Xiao Hua's divine sense swept over, and the Grand Mist Ancestor's voice sounded as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. "Quickly move aside, this old man wants to participate in the Jade Lake gathering with Daoist Xiao." Cough cough. Seeing this, Tai Bai Jinxing coughed twice, and ordered, "You all move aside." "Yes, Lord." The group of immortal soldiers holding weapons surrounding the Grand Mist Ancestor all moved aside, but they still surrounded the Grand Mist Ancestor with caution. Seeing that the immortal soldiers and generals had moved aside, the Grand Mist Ancestor sneered several times, and flew in front of Xiao Hua with Anya Zi and Daoist Rider Crane. He raised his hand and saluted, "Daoist Xiao, this time, the alien insects are very powerful." This old man also burned with anxiety when I received the news, and wanted to come up with a plan for the survival of the human race in the three mainlands. But when this old man heard that the Immortal Palace was holding the Jade Lake gathering here, they didn't invite this old man. Although this old man's sky-bearing palace has just been built, it is still a part of the Dao Gate strength, so this old man chased here, wanting to work together with Daoist Xiao for the sake of the Dao Gate. However, the Immortal Palace bullied the Dao Gate's weak strength, and actually didn't allow this old man to enter the Ling Yun side palace. "Daoist Xiao, this old man's heart can be seen by the heaven and earth. You must make the decision for the Dao Gate." Looking at the Grand Mist Ancestor's serious appearance, Xiao Hua sneered in his heart. Although he didn't like to fight and scheme, he also didn't like to be used as a stepping stone by others. After patiently waiting for the Grand Mist Ancestor to finish speaking, he indifferently replied, "Fellow Daoist Grand Mist, the Jade Lake Gathering is a banquet organized by Immortal Emperor Go Qin. Who he invites and who he doesn't invite, this Xiao can't decide. Moreover, whether or not to participate in the Jade Lake Gathering, whether or not you have the strength to fight the alien insects, it has nothing to do with your own strength, whether you look down on the Dao Gate or not." Without waiting for Xiao Hua to finish speaking, the Grand Mist Ancestor said with a surprised expression, Are you Daoist Xiao? Could it be that you've forgotten? You once erected a blood stele in the Seven Suns Temple. The world's Dao Gate is declining early, the hidden immortal Dao Gate is opening today, with me, Xiao Hua, in this world, who dares to bully and humiliate disciples. These words are known to all Dao Gate cultivators. Did you forget Daoist Zhao's order? Hearing these words, Xiao Hua's expression became even colder. He indifferently replied, "This Xiao naturally remembers the words that this Xiao said. However, this Xiao has already destroyed the blood stele. This Xiao Hua wants to carve these words into the hearts of every cultivator." You. The Grand Mist Ancestor was truly shocked. He didn't expect Xiao Hua to actually destroy the blood stele. He was speechless for a moment. At this time, Xiao Hua opened his mouth again. "However, since you said that you're a Dao Gate cultivator, this Xiao will ask for you." Finished speaking, Xiao Hua turned his head and asked Tai Bai Jinxing, "Fellow Daoist, I wonder if His Majesty has any special criteria for inviting people? After all, fellow Daoist Grand Mist is also a member of our Dao Gate. He's willing to cooperate with the Immortal Palace to fight against the strange insects. His Majesty shouldn't reject him, right?" Tai Bai Jinxing was slightly stunned, then as if he thought of something, a smile appeared on his face. He said, "Master Xiao Lei, His Majesty invited Empress to hold the Jade Pool meeting in the Lingyun side hall this time. It's naturally different from before. Because this time, the main focus is to fight against the strange insects, the divine ability of an ordinary cultivator. In front of the billions of strange insects, is already insignificant. Therefore, this old servant heard from His Majesty that the people invited by His Majesty not only have to be the top experts of the three continents, but also supreme experts. In other words, the supreme experts of various sects. The so-called supremacy of a supreme being referred to an expert who was respected by the masses. In other words, the experts of the top forces in the three continents and 4 seas. As for the various sects, Naturally, they are the Confucian cultivators, Buddhist sect, Tao Gate, demon race, and dragon race. At this point, Tai Bai Jingxing's gaze swept over the emperor's robe on Grand Mist Ancestor's body, then landed on Grand Mist Ancestor's face, and he said with a smile, "The elders of the Dragon Island control the Dragon Island, and even the dragon palaces of the three seas have to listen to their orders. They are qualified to participate in this Jade Pool meeting. The Thunder Temple's three Buddhist lords control the past, present, and future of the Buddhist sect, and the billions of Buddhist disciples in the Pure Land world listen to them. They are qualified to participate in this Jade Pool meeting. The Great Sage Temple's 7 great sages control the 1,000 demons' holy realm and millions of demon holy realm. No demon dares to disobey their orders. They are qualified to participate in this Jade Pool meeting. Daoist Xiao Hua, Daoist Xiao, Lightning Daoist, and Senior Celestial Being are in charge of the Fortune Gate, and their millions of disciples have shaken the 3 continents. Wherever the Iron Blood battle team passes, the 4 aristocratic families are defeated, the 1,000 demons' holy realm, and even the dragon palaces of the 4 seas have to retreat. Fellow Daoist Grand Mist, what about you? Your sky-bearing palace. Although this old man has heard of its name, I have never heard of its scale or the strength of its disciples. Even more so, I don't know what role the sky-bearing palace can play in resisting the alien insects. You. What qualifications do you have to participate? Although venerable realm experts can wear emperor's robes, those who can wear emperor's robes are not necessarily venerable realm experts. Tai Bai Jingxing didn't leave any face for the Grand Mist Ancestor. He was very different from the Longevity Town. In Tai Bai Jingxing's eyes, rather than calling Xiao Hua the Fortune Gate's sect master, it would be better to call him the Immortal Palace's lightning master. Rather than calling him the Immortal Palace's lightning master, it would be better to call him the Immortal Palace's son-in-law. The conversation between Xian and Xiao Hua outside the Earth Fire Wind Lightning Gate had made Tai Bai Jingxing feel closer to Xiao Hua. The Grand Mist Ancestor's face turned ugly, but it only lasted for a moment. He looked at Xiao Hua and said word by word, "Daoist Xiao, you heard Tai Bai Jingxing's words. He said that this old man doesn't have the qualifications to participate in the Jade Lake Gathering. This is not a reason, this is clearly an excuse. They don't dare to let this old man participate in the Jade Lake Gathering. Daoist Xiao, this old man hasn't known you for a long time, but I'm sure you've heard of this old man's name on the hidden Immortal continent. Long before this old man was suppressed, this old man has been fighting for the rise of my Tao Gate. The things I've done before are too many to count. Although this old man didn't erect the blood steel, this old man has also wreaked havoc in the Immortal Palace and killed countless immortal soldiers and immortal generals. After this old man escaped, this old man saw the struggle of the Tao Gate's younger generation and saw Daoist Zhao's efforts. Therefore, this old man used Daoist Zhao's deeds to motivate himself. Now, this old man's cultivation may not be as high as Daoist Zhao's, and my sky-bearing palace may not be as strong as the Fortune Gate, but this old man is also a member of the Tao Gate, a member of the 3 mainlands human race. The rise and fall of a country is everyone's responsibility, so why can't this old man contribute to the survival of the 3 mainlands? This old man earnestly requests Daoist Xiao that the Tao Gate is a family, so don't put the differences between the sects in your eyes. Just treat this old man as a member of the Tao Gate and allow this old man to follow Daoist Xiao to participate in the Jade Lake Gathering. Listening to the Grand Mist Ancestor's dignified words, if Xiao Hua didn't know about Prince Lan's matter, he might have softened his heart and agreed. Unfortunately, Xiao Hua had seen through the Grand Mist Ancestor's ruthless side and knew that what he said was completely different from what he thought in his heart. Therefore, he pondered for a moment and nodded. Daoist Grand Mist Ancestor is right. You're a member of my Tao Gate, and like this old man, you're also working hard for the rise of my Tao Gate. This Jade Lake Gathering is very important to my Tao Gate, so this old man must abandon all prejudices and scruples, and be honest with Daoist Grand Mist Ancestor and participate in the Jade Lake Gathering with Daoist Grand Mist Ancestor. Good. The Grand Mist Ancestor clapped his hands and said, Daoist Xiao is right. You and I are both members of the Tao Gate, so how can we separate ourselves? Good. Xiaohua clapped his hands and said, since Daoist Grand Mist Ancestor agrees with this old man, then. Daoist Grand Mist Ancestor, please tell this old man where the Sky-Bearing Hall is, how many disciples there are in the Sky-Bearing Hall, and how many experts like Daoist Rider Crane and Nyezi there are. Don't worry, this old man will definitely not tell a single word to the Immortal Palace. Ah. The Grand Mist Ancestor was originally happy, but when he heard Xiaohua's words, he was stunned. Xiaohua ignored the Grand Mist Ancestor and turned to Tai Bai Jinxing, Daoist friend, you must have information about my fortune gate, right? A smile appeared on Tai Bai Jinxing's face as he nodded and said, of course, the fortune gate is like the sun in the sky, how can my immortal palace not have information about the fortune gate? As he said that, Tai Bai Jinxing took out a jade eye ring and handed it over to Xiaohua. After Xiaohua received the jade eye ring, he activated the eye clear technique and passed it to the Grand Mist Ancestor, saying, this is all the information about my fortune gate, please keep it well. The Grand Mist Ancestor was flustered and exasperated. He had Prince Lan as his spy, so he knew more than the Immortal Palace. How could he put Tai Bai Jinxing's jade eye ring in his eyes? Moreover, he also knew that once he accepted this jade eyes, which was even more useless than a chicken rib, he would have to tell Xiaohua everything about the Sky-Bearing Palace Hall. Of course, he could hide it, but if he hid too much, Xiaohua was not a fool. How could he believe him? Seeing that the Grand Mist Ancestor did not accept the jade eye ring, Xiaohua raised his eyebrows and asked in confusion, eh? What's going on? Daoist Grand Mist Ancestor, didn't you say that you wanted to be honest with me? This is information about my fortune gate, does Daoist friend not need it? The Grand Mist Ancestor remained silent, and Daoist Rider Crane couldn't help but ask, Daoist Xiao, what do you mean by this? Could it be that you don't trust my Sky-Bearing Hall? Shut up. Before Xiaohua could say anything, the lightning Daoist roared, who do you think you are? Is there a place for you to speak? My sect master gave all the information about the fortune gate to your Sky-Bearing Hall because he doesn't trust you? First Elder Sect Master? Not to mention Daoist Rider Crane, even Tai Bai Jinxing was stunned. Even Grand Mist Ancestor was shocked. His heart, which had been struggling to make a decision, finally made a decision. Besides, who the hell do you think you are? I've never seen you before, so why should I trust you? The lightning Daoist didn't give Daoist Rider Crane any face, and he sneered, if you want my fortune gate to protect you, you can join my fortune gate. Using a dog fart Sky-Bearing Hall to fool people, do you think I'm a fool? Hee hee. The Grand Mist Ancestor chuckled, and he looked at the lightning Daoist and asked, if Daoist Xiao is the fortune gate's sect master, then I presume the lightning Daoist is the second sect master? What's wrong? I'm the second sect master. With my strength, can't I be the second sect master? The lightning Daoist glanced at the Grand Mist Ancestor and replied arrogantly. Hearing the lightning Daoist's words, the Grand Mist Ancestor sneered in his heart. He already understood why Xiaohua called himself the sect master. Wasn't he trying to unify the three mainlands? The Grand Mist Ancestor had carefully studied Xiaohua's actions, and he had come to a conclusion. Xiaohua was a rare Dao sect cultivator, but he was definitely not a qualified Dao sect leader. Not to mention that he was indecisive and didn't know how to win over people's hearts, just the fact that he couldn't kill decisively meant that he couldn't be compared to him. The Longevity Town. Rather than saying that the Grand Mist Ancestor was using Xiaohua's indecisiveness to barge into the three mainland supreme experts, it was more accurate to say that he was taking a risk to test Xiaohua. The Grand Mist Ancestor knew that if he was in Xiaohua's shoes, he definitely wouldn't allow two Dao Gates voices to exist in the Longevity Town. But the result was exactly the same as the Grand Mist Ancestor's expectations. Xiaohua had indeed allowed him to speak, and he had even allowed him to say a lot of things that were disgraceful to Xiaohua. The most important thing was that Xiaohua didn't make a move against him. As for the Jade Lakes gathering, the Grand Mist Ancestor understood it better than Xiaohua. This was the best opportunity for him and his Sky-Bearing Hall to stand out. He didn't receive the Immortal Palace's invitation, so he didn't have the opportunity to participate. But he didn't go to the Fortune Gate to discuss with Xiao Hua. Instead, he went to the Soaring Cloud side hall's entrance to block Xiao Hua's way and force him to agree. Of course, the consequences of forcing Xiao Hua to agree, as well as other possible scenarios, were already in his mind. Bringing out the sky-bearing hall structure, disciples, and so on was also within his expectations. Now that he heard the lightning Taoist reveal that Xiao Hua was the Fortune Gate's first master, the Grand Mist Ancestor felt a sense of crisis. He knew that if he couldn't enter the Jade Lake's gathering today, he wouldn't be able to occupy a position among the 4 superpowers. He was afraid that he wouldn't have the chance to compete with Xiao Hua in the future. So, while his mind was spinning, the Grand Mist Ancestor opened his mouth again. He looked at the celestial being and laughed. So, fellow celestial being is the 3rd master? What does it have to do with you whether I am the 3rd master or the 8th master? The celestial being coldly replied, completely ignoring the Grand Mist Ancestor. Hee. The Grand Mist Ancestor didn't take the celestial being's 8th master seriously. He laughed and received Xiao Hua's jade eye. Then, he took out a jade eye and handed it to Xiao Hua. Taoist Xiao, this is something this old man specially prepared for Taoist. Taoist will know when he sees it. Oh. Is that so? Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows and laughed. People often say that a wise man submits to circumstances. Fellow Taoist Grand Mist is indeed an ambitious and ruthless person. How could the Grand Mist Ancestor not understand Xiao Hua's sarcasm? However, this sarcasm was too far away from his grand plan. How could he care about it? Xiao Hua took the jade eye and looked at it. His expression changed slightly, and then he looked at the Grand Mist Ancestor from head to toe. He said indifferently, this Xiao really didn't expect fellow Taoist to have such great strength. If that's the case, can the Fortune Gate and Sky-Bearing Palace form an alliance? The Grand Mist Ancestor raised his hand and looked at Xiao Hua with a smile. He had taken out his biggest trump card, and he didn't think that Xiao Hua would refuse. Alliance? Who knew that Xiao Hua looked at the Grand Mist Ancestor's hand in a daze and asked curiously, you and I are both from the same sect, and we are brothers. Has fellow Taoist ever seen brothers form an alliance? The Grand Mist Ancestor was extremely embarrassed, and he didn't know how to answer. The 3 continents are so big, and there are only 2 sects, the Fortune Gate and the Sky-Bearing Palace. There is no need to form an alliance. Xiao Hua laughed and said, what this Xiao means is, since fellow Taoist wants to participate in the Jade Lake meeting, does fellow Taoist want to join under the Fortune Gate, or participate under the Sky-Bearing Palace's name? If you want to use the Sky-Bearing Palace's name, there is no harm in giving this jade eye to the Immortal Palace. Various forces are needed to resist the alien insects, and I think the Immortal Emperor will definitely want the Sky-Bearing Palace to become a force and ally with the Immortal Palace to resist the foreign enemies. Fuck, who said that this Xiao Hua is too honest and doesn't know how to be flexible? The Grand Mist Ancestor gritted his teeth so hard that his teeth were about to shatter. This bastard just looked at the jade pupils, and threw his words to the side. He even wants to pull this old man's Sky-Bearing Hall to his Fortune Gate. His appetite is really big. Isn't he afraid of dying from overeating? This old man won't let you have your way. This old man would rather ally with the Immortal Palace than to join the Fortune Gate. At this time, the Grand Mist Ancestor seemed to have forgotten that he was the one who said to Xiao Hua that all the sects under the heavens were one family. Of course, the Grand Mist Ancestor couldn't reveal his thoughts. After pondering for a while, he said in a dignified tone, Taoist Xiao is right. The Fortune Gate already has 3 masters, and even if this old man goes to the Fortune Gate, this old man won't be able to help much. This old man's Sky-Bearing Palace should participate in the Jade Lake meeting as an independent sect. And, since fellow Taoist has made a decision, then it's easy to handle. Xiaohua smiled faintly when he saw the Grand Mist Ancestor's hand reaching into his chest as if he was about to take out another jade eye. Xiaohua raised his hand and passed the jade eye to Tai Bai Jinxing as he said, "It's not good for this Xiao to take out the sky-bearing palace's jade eye again. Why don't you pass it to the Immortal Palace?" Seeing that Xiaohua had casually tossed the jade eye pearl to Tai Bai Jinxing as if he was tossing a blade of grass, the Grand Mist Ancestor felt even more embarrassed and angry. His hand, which was in his bosom, froze in place, feeling extremely awkward. He looked at Tai Bai Jinxing again and took the jade eye. His clear eyes swept over it, and he exclaimed, "What a big sky-bearing palace, ah!" This old man really didn't expect that fellow Daoist Grand Mist would be so generous under the eyes of my Immortal Palace. This old man has really learned a lot. Hearing Tai Bai Jinxing's exaggerated tone, how could the Grand Mist Ancestor not know that there was a hidden meaning in his words? Who knew if there would be another but in a while? Thus, the Grand Mist Ancestor decided to endure hardships and wait for Tai Bai Jinxing's humiliation. Sure enough, Tai Bai Jinxing changed the topic and cupped his hands apologetically, "But this matter is of great importance. This old man has no authority to make a decision. I must ask for the Immortal Emperor's decree. If fellow Daoist Grand Mist is willing, can you wait here for a while?" Of course, of course. Since it had come to this, how could the Grand Mist Ancestor say no? A smile appeared on his face as he cupped his hands and said, "I'll have to trouble fellow Daoist with this matter." "No problem." Tai Bai Jinxing placed the jade eye into his sleeve and said respectfully to Xiaohua, "Daoist Xiao, please." N. Xiaohua nodded and urged the Pegasus to fly towards the entrance of the Lingyun side hall. Before the Pegasus landed on the stairs, a thunderous sound came from the Lingyun side hall. Boom, boom, boom. 81 streaks of 5-colored clouds rushed out from the entrance of the Lingyun side hall and turned into 81 dragons dancing in the sky. Golden light flashed as the vermilion door slowly opened. A solemn aura that seemed to split heaven and earth gushed out from the door. A loud voice resounded in the entire space, "Fortune Gate's first master Xiaohua, Daoist Xiaohua, Fortune Gate's second master Lightning Daoist, Fortune Gate's third master Heavenly Being has arrived." Dragon Master Xiao, when I heard that you were coming to the Immortal Palace, this old man had been waiting for you for a long time. I didn't expect you to be so patient, insisting on waiting for the Jade Lake meeting to start before coming. Just as the welcoming voice fell, another loud voice resounded in the music. Following this voice, a huge dragon that could break through the entrance of the Lingyun side hall appeared. Wasn't this the Dragon Island's second elder, Aoe? Chapter 46-68. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Tai Bai Jinxing wasn't the only one who was surprised. Even the Grand Mist Ancestor's eyes flashed with extreme jealousy. He cursed in his heart, how can an invited guest rush to greet someone before the Immortal Emperor? If the Dragon Island didn't value Xiaohua, why would the second elder of the Dragon Island personally appear? Greetings, Dragon Master Xiao. A golden light flashed behind Aoe as the golden-winged Peng flew out and laughed. There was another giant dragon beside him. Wasn't that the profound armored pentahorn dragon? Even though the pentahorn dragon had a trace of disdain on his face, he didn't hesitate and said, "The famous Dragon Master Xiao is actually like this. This saint has long heard about it, but after seeing it today, I'm still in awe of Dragon Master's temperament. Damn it, isn't it just the West Sea Dragon Palace?" Xiaohua wasn't surprised when the golden-winged Peng came out. However, when he saw Aoe and the pentahorn dragon, he immediately understood that Jiang Hong's killing of the West Sea had attracted the attention of the Dragon Island. As expected, the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea, Ao Qian, appeared behind the profound armored pentahorn dragon. However, Ao Qian bowed and said, "Greetings, Dragon Master Xiao. I didn't know that the Buddha of Xuanji Mausoleum was actually your nephew. I apologize for my lack of manners." After Ao Feng obtained the scriptures from the Nirvana Paradise, He mentioned to me many times how the Buddha of Xuanji Mausoleum had taken care of him along the way. This humble Taoist greets fellow immortals. Xiaohua naturally couldn't greet them when others were so courteous. He hurriedly flew down from the Pegasus and stood in front of the soaring cloud side hall's door before bowing to return the greeting. Xiaohua didn't activate his transcendence golden body, which was the figure of an ordinary human. He stood there respectfully, but the second elder of the Dragon Island, the two great sages of the Great Sage Hall, and the East Sea Dragon Palace Lord didn't dare to disrespect him. The four demons hurriedly used their techniques and transformed into human form. They smiled and said, "Dragon Master Xiao, you're too polite." Master Xiao Lei. Right after Xiaohua finished greeting the dragons and demons, Immortal Emperor Go Qin didn't miss the opportunity to appear. He smiled and said, after hearing Master Xiao Lei's name, the second elder of Dragon Island was even more anxious than me. He actually came to greet you before me. I really don't know who the real host is. Your Majesty is wrong. When Xiaohua saw that Immortal Emperor Gaochen had personally come out, he understood that Immortal Emperor Gaochen was attracted by the title of Fortune Gate's Third Master. Therefore, he smiled and bowed respectfully. This humble servant is a human, and is also the Lightning Master of the Immortal Palace. This humble servant can be considered half a host, so. At this point, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. He realized that his words were ambiguous and wanted to think of an explanation. After Immortal Emperor Go Qin, Dongfang Qianghao also smiled and said, Master Xiao Lei is also wrong. If we're talking about half a host, this old man can barely be considered half a host. You can only be considered half a host. He. Xiaohua was secretly happy. Dongfang Qianghao's words made Immortal Emperor Go Qin even more sleepless, so he didn't say anything else. He just casually replied, that's right, that's right. This Xiao has always been afraid of making a fool of himself in this kind of situation. I only said one sentence and immortal friend Dongfang exposed me. Dongfang Qianghao smiled and said, that's even better. At the Jade Lake banquet, Empress Dowager Celestial Palace's immortal peaches and Immortal Palace's wine are plentiful. Master Xiao can punish himself. Troublesome. Xiaohua patted his forehead in distress. This Xiao is most afraid of wine. If you want to enter the school of the Emperor's Star, how can you not have a good alcohol tolerance? The golden-winged Great Peng laughed and said, Come, let's have a drinking competition with this sage. The group of venerable realm experts laughed and invited Immortal Emperor Go Qin to go first. Xiaohua, Thunderbolt Immortal, and the heavenly being stood in the middle. The Dragon Island's second elder and the others followed behind and entered the Lingyun side hall. Taibai Jingxing looked at the Grand Mist Ancestor in the distance and sneered. He naturally didn't dare to enter the Lingyun side hall through the main door. After the main door was closed, he flew through the side door. As for when he could deliver the Grand Mist Ancestor's Jade Eye and report the Grand Mist Ancestor's intention, it depended on his mood. Damn it. The Grand Mist Ancestor naturally saw all of this, and his anger was unprecedentedly strong. In his heart, he knew that the other forces might not put the Fortune Gate in their eyes. However, the 3 continents and the 4 seas needed a force that could benefit from both sides to keep each other in check. If Xiaohua's rise wasn't too lucky, if Xiaohua's Fortune Gate wasn't 100 years earlier than his sky-bearing palace, all the glory in front of him would belong to him and not Xiaohua. Lord Sect Master. Taoist Rider Crane was very quick-witted. Seeing the Grand Mist Ancestor's uncertain expression, he hurriedly whispered, according to this subordinate's knowledge, no matter how many times the Jade Lake gathering has been held, it seems there has never been such a reception. The Great Sage Hall, Dragon Island, and Immortal Palace have given Xiaohua too much glory. In this subordinate's opinion, the peak of prosperity is bound to decline. I'm afraid there are many hidden dangers behind this glory. Taoist Rider Crane's Lord Sect Master made the Grand Mist Ancestor's heart itch. He smiled and nodded, your opinion is exactly what I think. Xiaohua is just a Tao Gate's child. How would he know how to strategize? Didn't you see that he actually destroyed his own blood steel? Isn't this giving others a reason to criticize him? A person who goes back on his words. It's only because of the current situation of the 3 continents that he can be so arrogant. AI, the times make heroes, in terms of luck. I'm still half a step behind Xiao Hua. Lord Sect Master's luck is about the same. Taoist writer Crane laughed. At this time, being praised by everyone is like being roasted on a fire. When it's time to make the real arrangements, only then will the cultivation base be tested. In this subordinate's opinion, Lord Sect Master's magic power is divine and can control yin and yang. Lord Sect Master is the one with the real good luck. Humph, good luck is just a facade. The Grand Mist Ancestor coldly snorted. His gaze swept over the tightly shut door of the soaring cloud side hall, and he transmitted, all kinds of luck are like paper and silk in front of a plan. Before everything is revealed, everything is like the moon in the water. In the end, Xiao Hua will know that everything he did is just to pave the way for me. Everything he has is mine. This subordinate has this confidence. Taoist writer Crane's eyes narrowed. He also looked at the soaring cloud side hall and replied, "Only your majesty is the master of this palace. Only your majesty is qualified to be the Tao Gates. Lord Sect Master." Not to mention that the Grand Mist Ancestor and Taoist writer Crane were flattering each other in front of the soaring cloud side hall. On the other side of the soaring cloud side hall, there was a similar door. Moreover, this door was also vermilion red. However, this door was decorated with 36 golden stars. This door was also tightly shut. Moreover, there was no plaque on it. Hundreds of armored female generals stood guard in front of the door. Boom! There was a roar high in the sky, and a 5-colored spot of light was born in the starry sky. The spot of light shook the void and streaked across the sky. Behind the spot of light, clouds like a bridge of clouds surged out from the vibrating space and covered the horizon. The female generals guarding the door tensed up. Among them, 10 of them moved and landed on the bridge of clouds. The leader's eyes flashed with a clear light as she looked at the other side of the bridge of clouds. In less than the time it took to brew a cup of tea, dozens of female officials dressed in palace attire flew over with 2 imperial canopies. At this time, the 2 imperial canopies were not covered by the multicolored light, revealing the 2 charming princesses inside. 2 of the princesses looked very similar, but their expressions and temperaments were completely different. One had a cold expression with bright eyes that emitted a murderous aura. The female officials near the canopy lowered their heads and didn't dare to come closer. Wasn't this the 5th princess of the Immortal Emperor, Qingqing? The other one had a sorrowful expression and looked around with a pitiful expression. This was the 6th princess of the Bright Jade Palace, Miao Miao. At this time, there was a faint blue and white mark on her forehead. This mark was in the shape of a thunderbolt with faint flashes of lightning inside. Whenever lightning flashed, the princess would frown. She couldn't help but cover her chest. Then, strands of 5-colored light rushed out from her chest. This 5-colored light traveled up her jade-white neck to her forehead and entered the blue and white mark. Your Highness. The one guarding the canopy was naturally Yu Xiaojing. She saw the princess's frown and quickly asked, "Your Highness. If you can't hold on, how about you let Princess Miao Miao see the Empress and ask for leave on her behalf? We'll return to the Jasper Flower Palace right now." "Humph, we're already in front of the Lingyun Side Palace. How can we return?" Princess Qingqing snorted and said, "Plus, this princess didn't have time to ask for His Majesty's forgiveness after the battle at Chaomuya. This gathering is a good opportunity. If this princess doesn't come and His Majesty asks, won't this princess be punished? This servant knows." Yu Xiaojing smiled bitterly, "But this servant is worried about your Highness' injuries. There's no need for that." Princess Qingqing waved her hand in annoyance, stopping Yu Xiaojing from speaking. A rare look of confusion appeared in her eyes. She wasn't looking at Yu Xiaojing or Princess Miao Miao. Instead, she was looking at the boundless stars. Your Highness. Yu Xiaojing glanced at Princess Miao Miao and whispered to Princess Qingqing, you haven't seen many messages yet. This servant thinks you should take a look before entering the Lingyun side palace. We'll see. Princess Qingqing frowned again. Her injuries were clearly acting up again. She said impatiently, nothing is more important than asking for His Majesty's forgiveness right now. Yes, Your Highness. Yu Xiaojing opened her mouth but stopped when she saw Princess Qingqing's pain. Big sister. Princess Miao Miao's gentle voice rang out when she saw Princess Qingqing in such a state. I heard you went to Prime Purity Palace after returning from Dawn and Dawn. Why haven't you recovered yet? Humph. Princess Qingqing's eyes flashed with shame and anger. The one who injured me is a Daoist Grand Ascension stage cultivator. He seems to be even more powerful than the master of the Shangqing Palace. The master's medicine can only treat the symptoms, not the root of the problem. If I want to recover, I'll have to rely on my own cultivation. Ah. A Daoist Mahayana, he. How could he ignore his status and bully the weak? Princess Miao Miao was shocked and patted her chest, worried for Princess Qingqing. Thank goodness you're lucky. But how long will it take for you to recover? I'm afraid it won't be for at least 1,000 years. Princess Qingqing replied through gritted teeth. Alas, elder sister. Princess Miao Miao turned her head and looked to the left of the imperial canopy. She waved her hand to signal those female officials to stay away. Then, she said in a low voice, although I don't understand these fights and I don't like to compete, I still occasionally hear some rumors. What rumor? Princess Qingqing withdrew her thoughts and asked indifferently. Princess Miao Miao hesitated. Please don't be angry if I tell you. Tell me, I won't be angry. Princess Qingqing's face was a bit cold. It seemed she already knew what Princess Miao Miao wanted to say. Princess Miao Miao sighed, but she still said, I heard. You and Xin have some misunderstandings. You seem to have accidentally injured her back then. Since you're talking about Daoist Mahayana, you must be talking about Daoist Master Xiaohua, right? With his strength, how could he only injure you? Presumably, this move of his was also to avenge Xian, right? You injured Xin and he injured you. We're even now, don't take it to heart. Princess Qingqing knew Princess Miao Miao didn't like this kind of news. It was already good that she knew something. She shook her head. It's not Xiaohua, it's another cultivator. Another cultivator? Could it be the Grand Mist Ancestor? Princess Miao Miao was shocked. The Grand Mist Ancestor's cultivation is nothing. He's not even worthy of carrying his shoes. Princess Qingqing said casually, but there was a hint of arrogance in her words. She was shocked and hurriedly looked at Princess Miao Miao. Princess Miao Miao was also shocked and turned to look at Princess Qingqing. Their gazes met and they turned back at the same time as if they were electrocuted. It was absolutely strange. After a few breaths of silence, the two of them spoke at the same time. Sister, who is that person? Miao Miao, is there any important news recently? Princess Miao Miao didn't say anything. She lowered her head slightly and smiled faintly. Princess Qingqing's cheeks were burning and her eyes were a little messy. Sister. Princess Miao Miao stopped smiling and said softly, I never ask about the Immortal Palace or the hidden Immortal Continent. How would I know any important news? Forget it if you don't know. Princess Qingqing said perfunctorily. She looked at the Lingyun side palace and changed the topic. Sister, I remember that it's only been a few days since the Jade Lake Gathering. Why is the Jade Lake Gathering being held again? Who are they inviting? Is it the new Confucian sage? If you don't know, then I don't know either. Princess Miao Miao smiled. But it's the Empress' imperial decree. We'll go. No. Princess Qingqing became nervous as her imagination ran wild. I have to see what's going on first. Otherwise, I'll be caught off guard. Jing, Yes, Your Highness. Yu Xiaojing naturally stayed away from the canopy and hid her ears in her heart. Seeing Princess Qingqing waving at her, she hurriedly flew over. Quick, show me the latest message, Jade Eye. Princess Qingqing was anxious. Lightning flashed between her eyebrows again. She couldn't help but hold her heart again. Yu Xiaojing felt sorry for her, but she didn't dare to delay. She took out a dozen jade eyes and handed them over. Are you Princess Qingqing and Princess Miao Miao in front? The female general had already flown over and asked. Yes, it is our princess. Yu Xiaojing and a female official from the Bright Jade Palace responded and flew over. The Empress has decreed that the two princesses are to go to the Jade Lake immediately. The female general transmitted her voice. Yu Xiaojing smiled. Generals, please lead the way. This way, please. The female general didn't dare to delay. She led the cloud bridge to the side door. Seeing that they were about to reach the side door, Princess Qingqing exclaimed from inside the canopy, how is this possible? The four noble houses actually. That damned servant, Gu Xianyun. Yu Xiaojing hurriedly flew back and whispered in panic, Your Highness, please don't be angry. Xianyun has already died in front of the sunset cliff. It's all this servant's fault for not reporting such an important matter. Phew. Princess Qingqing was naturally anxious as well. She cursed Gu Xianyun in anger when she didn't know about such an important matter. Seeing Yu Xiaojing so flustered, she couldn't help but feel annoyed. She sighed and said, Fine. It's not your fault. I didn't return to the Jasper Flower Palace and received the Empress' decree as soon as I returned. At this moment, a rumbling sound came from the night sky not far away. Hundreds of pillars of Aoran Qi descended from the starry sky. Within the pillars of Aoran Qi, clouds poured down like a waterfall. When the Aoran Qi fell into the clouds, it immediately emitted a brilliant light. What was special was that within the clouds, a flying phoenix palanquin flew over. Under the cover of the clouds, it looked like a phoenix that ruled over the world. An overwhelming majestic aura instantly covered the surrounding space. On the left side of the flying phoenix palanquin, the silhouettes of the dozens of women in palace robes became somewhat blurry. Is that the Empress flying phoenix palanquin? Princess Qingqing and Princess Miao Miao were surprised. Is the Empress not in the Jade Lake? The Empress is in the Jade Lake. The female general at the front replied, The Empress' decree flew in from outer space and the Empress sent the flying phoenix palanquin to receive it. I'm afraid it's an honored guest invited by the Empress. Oh. Princess Qingqing was surprised. She rolled her eyes and smiled. How many people in the world are worthy of the Empress sending the flying phoenix palanquin? Could it be the concubines of the four great clans? However, the four great clans just offended the Immortal Palace. Their concubines are close to the Empress, but they won't come to the Jade Lake. If it's not the four great clans, then it's the concubines of Gongshu, Duanmu, Kong, and Meng? Princess Miao Miao was also confused. But they don't seem to be qualified to sit in the flying phoenix palanquin. That's strange. Princess Qingqing shook her head and said, I can't think of anyone who can sit in the flying phoenix palanquin. Maybe it's the Dragon Queen of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas? Princess Miao Miao asked again. The Dragon Empress of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas has never come to the Immortal Palace. Princess Qingqing shook her head and said, Moreover, the dragon race is different from us humans. Their Dragon Empress is just a title. It's far from the status of the concubines of the 100 schools of thought. Forget it, sister. We don't need to guess. Princess Miao Miao said with a smile, We have to kneel when the flying phoenix palanquin appears. Won't we know when the honored guest comes out? Humph. Kneel. Princess Qingqing's eyes flashed with pride. One day, I will sit in the flying phoenix palanquin and make that slut kneel. Sigh. Princess Qingqing's voice wasn't loud, but Princess Miao Miao heard it clearly. She naturally knew who the slut was. She could only sigh and walk out of the imperial canopy. She walked to the side of the cloud bridge with Princess Qingqing and prepared to welcome the flying phoenix palanquin. The clouds were like a bridge. The palanquin above the clouds was like a phoenix that spread its wings and landed in front of the palace gate. Princess Qingqing and Princess Miao Miao had already flown to the palace gate from the side door when the palanquin approached. When the clouds converged, the flying phoenix palanquin stopped in midair. The clouds turned into a huge illusion of a phoenix and rushed through the red door. Behind the illusion, a woman in palace attire walked out of the palanquin. Princess Qingqing, Princess Miao Miao, and many other female officials hurriedly knelt on the ground and shouted, "We respectfully welcome your majesty." As the phoenix illusion landed on the crimson door, the 36 stars flashed at the same time. Boom boom. The crimson door next to everyone slowly opened. The phoenix illusion landed inside the door and set off a complete brilliance. Many female officials flew out from the radiance and knelt on the ground while shouting, "We respectfully welcome your majesty." "Io, sister, get up, get up." Just as Princess Qingqing and Princess Miao Miao knelt on the ground and didn't dare to raise their heads, a familiar voice rang in their ears. "Little sister doesn't deserve such great respect." "Ah. Xan. When Princess Qing heard this, it was as though she had been struck by lightning. She looked up in shock and disbelief at the new princess who was blushing bashfully. She even looked at Bai and who was beside the new princess and exclaimed, "You. When did you escape?" Then, before Xan could speak, Princess Qingqing jumped up from the ground and scolded, Xan, what right do you have to sit in this flying phoenix palanquin? You've overstepped the etiquette and called yourself your majesty. Do you know that you've violated the immortal law? I'm going to see his majesty today to present a Qingqing." Just as Princess Qingqing was feeling embarrassed and angry, a kind voice came from inside the hall. "Your younger sister has just escaped and returned to the Lingyun side hall. Why are you picking on her again? Don't you think you're being picky? Greetings, Celestial Empress." Princess Qingqing immediately bowed respectfully in front of the Lingyun side palace, greeting the Celestial Empress with the etiquette of a ruler and her subject. "Get up." East Sea Empress looked at her competitive daughter and sighed. She flicked her sleeves and said, "This isn't Lingyun side palace or Fragrance side palace. It's enough for you to call me mother. The etiquette of Confucian cultivators precedes the kinship of the immortal palace. Your son doesn't dare to overstep the bounds." Princess Qingqing naturally wouldn't let Princess Xan off. She said, "It's precisely because your majesty dotes on Xan that she oversteps the bounds again and again. I hope your majesty will think twice in the future." "Humph, how am I overstepping the bounds?" East Sea Empress looked at Princess Qingqing with amusement and anger. She had called Princess Qingqing and Princess Miao Miao over today because Princess Miao Miao had a good relationship with Princess Qingqing and Princess Xan. She wanted to use the Jasper Lake meeting to ease the tension between the two princesses. But who would have thought that Princess Qing and Princess Miao Miao would arrive at the same time as the new princess's flying phoenix sedan? Princess Qing would kneel to the new princess in the flying phoenix sedan. Princess Qing was naturally furious. She seemed to have overreached herself. Although the 9th princess is His Majesty's descendant and has a noble status, Princess Qingqing seemed to have thought of something and her expression changed. She quickly shut her mouth. But a moment later, she gritted her teeth and said, "She hasn't made any outstanding achievements. With her unmarried status, how can she sit in this flying phoenix sedan chair?" Qingqing. East Sea Empress expression didn't change. She asked thoughtfully, "These days. You weren't in the Jasper Flower Palace, right?" "Yes, Your Majesty." Princess Qingqing replied, "Your son was injured by the Fortune Gate's lightning reverend on the Sunset Cliff. I've been recuperating in the High Purity Palace. And, if that's the case, Your Majesty will pardon you." East Sea Empress nodded and turned to a female official. Xiuqiao, read His Majesty's decree to Princess Qingqing. Yes, Your Majesty. The female official didn't dare to delay. She hurriedly got up and returned to the palace. A moment later, she flew out again with a decree in her hand. After the decree was unfurled, everyone except East Sea Empress knelt down and listened to the female official read it word by word. By the will of the heavens, the ancestors of the Confucian cultivators rejoice. Today, with the help of the 9th princess, I obtained the 5 energies unification technique from the master of the literary stream palace and found the true essence of my Confucian cultivation. My hidden immortal will return to the orthodox Confucian cultivation and will definitely shine for generations to come. This is one of the 9th princess' great achievements. After the sutra Seeking of Extreme Bliss, I encountered danger in the Longevity Town. The 9th princess used the Mystic Origin water control flag to break the Khanate 4 directions formation and saved me from danger. This is another of the 9th princess' great achievements. When the hidden immortal died and the 9 provinces formation collapsed, the 9th princess fearlessly took the risk and brought my 9 provinces cauldron formation to the Tao Gate. This is the third of the 9th princess' great achievements. The 9th princess's 3 great merits are the auspicious purple clouds, the Eastern Ascension Immortal Palace, and her name in the annals of history. Therefore, this emperor hereby grants the 9th princess the title of Purple Clouds, and she will enjoy the first class of imperial concubines. PFFF. Before the female official could finish reading Immortal Emperor Go Chen's decree, Princess Qingqing spat out a mouthful of blood and collapsed in front of the Lingyun side palace. Sister. No one dared to move. Princess Xian hastily got up and helped Princess Qingqing up. You. Why did you do this? Get out of my way. Princess Qingqing's face was pale, but she still waved her hand and slapped Princess Qingqing's hand away. You only obtained some opportunities. What's there to be arrogant about? Sigh. Princess Xian sighed. She looked at Princess Qingqing and whispered, I've fought with you for thousands of years. Now that I look back, I find it laughable. From now on, the Immortal Palace is yours. I'll hand it over to you. Humph. Princess Qingqing sneered. Don't try to fool me with these words. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Let me tell you, you've only taken a few more steps. The one who has the last laugh is the true winner. Sister. Princess Xian naturally wasn't afraid of Princess Qingqing. She calmly replied, believe it or not. Only when you meet the things and people that you should meet will you realize that. The things that you worked so hard for before are really just smoke. Qingqing. The East Sea Empress looked at Princess Qingqing with heartache. She whispered, listen to His Majesty's decree first. Princess Qingqing gritted her teeth and slapped Princess Xian's hand away again. She struggled to get up and kneeled. Ancestor, Fortune Gate's Xiao Hua is a handsome human. He created the Fortune Gate and established the Xiao World Empire. He is our Immortal Palace's lightning master. He fought against the 4 great clans at Dawn and Dusk Cliff. He worked together with me to resist the 4 great clans at Longevity Town. His sincerity towards the 9th princess was felt by the heavens and broke the 9th princess heaven's punishment prison crystal. I cannot go back on my words. Today, I announce to the world that I agree to Xiao Hua's marriage proposal. Once Xiao Hua sets up the 9 provinces grand formation for our Immortal Palace, he can marry the 9th princess. Thus, the East Sea Empress smiled as she looked at Princess Qingqing. She knew that Princess Qingqing had always viewed the new princess as a strong rival. Now that the new princess had been given a title, she would be leaving the Immortal Palace. Now that she was going to marry Xiao Hua, the hatred between Princess Qingqing and the new princess would naturally disappear. Perhaps they would be able to bury the hatchet. Unfortunately, the East Sea Empress was still wrong. Princess Qingqing forced herself to listen, but when she heard the word wedding, her expression changed drastically. PFFF. Another mouthful of blood mixed with lightning gushed out of her mouth. Princess Qingqing had completely fainted in front of the Lingyun side palace. Princess Xian looked at Princess Qingqing with pity. However, she didn't go forward. She naturally treated Princess Qingqing as her elder sister and was willing to use her family to awaken her coldness. However, Princess Qingqing had already rejected her good intentions. How could Princess Xian help her? Send the fifth princess to Ijia's palace to rest. Call the medicine master to diagnose her. The East Sea Empress looked at the arrogant Princess Qingqing with heartache. She hurriedly ordered the female officials beside her. The female officials were a bit flustered. However, they quickly regained their composure. Some of them carried Princess Qingqing. They didn't dare to be rude and still entered through the side door. Some of them hurriedly went to pass the message. Of course, even more female officials surrounded the East Sea Empress and stood guard in front of the palace door. The East Sea Empress saw that the situation had stabilized. She sighed in her heart and forced a smile on her face. She said to Princess Xian, after you receive the edict today, Ijia can no longer call you Xian outside. As she spoke, the usually strong East Sea Empress suddenly felt sour in her heart. She actually had tears in her eyes. When Princess Xian saw the East Sea Empress smile, she saw the hypocrisy hidden behind it. Like Princess Qingqing, she also saw the Immortal Emperor's edict clearly. It wasn't to reward Xian, but to rope in Xiao Hua. Princess Xian even had some doubts in her heart. If she didn't have the same heart as Xiao Hua, even if Xiao Hua proposed to marry any of the Immortal Emperor's princesses, the names in the edict would be changed at will. However, seeing the tears in her mother's eyes, Xian's heart immediately softened. She was already so burdened facing Princess Qingqing in the Immortal Palace. What Immortal Emperor Gaochen and the East Sea Empress had to face were the 4 great clans, the 100 schools of thought, and even the demon race and the Buddhist sect. They would definitely rack their brains and judge others by their own standards. Xian couldn't blame Her Majesty too much for scheming against Xiao Hua. Especially since these tears were tears of farewell. They were tears of reluctance. These tears made Xian think of many things. Xian couldn't help but cry as well. She fell into the East Sea Empress' arms. Cough cough. Princess Xian only lost her composure for a moment. The East Sea Empress came back to her senses. She gently coughed a few times and helped Xian up. She smiled and said, Princess Xixia, quickly receive the edict. Once we're done with the state affairs and enter the Lingyun side palace, Ijia will talk to you about family matters. Yes. As Xian stood up, she returned to normal and nodded with a smile. Also, the East Sea Empress looked at Bai and kneeling beside Xixia and said, Ijia knows that you have worked hard and contributed greatly. I have also asked His Majesty for a decree for you. I hope you will be satisfied. Bai and was shocked. She hurriedly kowtowed and said, this servant doesn't dare to be greedy. This is all new. Princess Xixia's good fortune. The East Sea Empress didn't say much. Another female official beside her took out an Immortal Emperor's decree and recited it. This decree naturally didn't reward Princess Xixia. It simply pointed out that Bai and had worked hard and contributed greatly. She was conferred the title of 4th-rank concubine and married to Fu Jiwen. In addition, the Fu clan of the peaceful mountain country was also conferred the title of 5th-rank aristocratic family. Of course, the Fu clan's status as a 5th-rank aristocratic family couldn't match Bai An's 4th-rank concubine etiquette. This also showed that the Immortal Emperor was fair in his rewards and punishments. This servant thanks the Empress and Your Majesty for your grace. Bai An was so excited that her face turned red. She kowtowed and thanked the Empress with all her might. This was the etiquette of a 4th-rank concubine. How many women in the world could receive such an honor? Moreover, Bai An had always been traumatized by her affair with Fu Jiwen. Now that the Immortal Emperor had conferred her marriage to the world, the gloom in her heart had long dissipated. Not to mention, because Bai and had married into the Fu clan, the Fu clan had also been promoted to a 5th-rank aristocratic family. This was something that the tiny Fu clan couldn't even dream of. Bai and was almost certain that once this decree was issued, the Fu clan would definitely worship her like a real concubine. Of course, while Bai and was thanking the Empress, she also understood that this decree wasn't just about informing Xiao Hua and stopping the 4 great aristocratic families. It was also about her marrying Fu Jiwen, the famous Confucian cultivator of the Fortune Gate, Fu Jiwen. Yu Xiaojing and the other female officials of the Jasper Flower Palace didn't dare to enter the Lingyun side hall without the East Sea Empress order. At this time, they were also kneeling at the side. When they and the female officials of the Jade Brightness Palace heard about Bai An's grace, they couldn't help but feel envious. There were countless female officials in the Immortal Palace. Although Bai An wasn't unprecedented, there probably wouldn't be anyone like her in the past 10,000 years. You all have seen it clearly. The East Sea Empress glanced at Yu Xiaojing and the others and said coldly, "The Emperor's Star Palace's Bai An is your role model. You all should assist your princess well. Don't cause any trouble. I hope that there will be more decrees like this from my hands in the future." Yes, this servant understands. The female officials didn't dare to be disrespectful and hurriedly nodded in agreement. You all can enter from the side door. The East Sea Empress nodded and ordered, "Miao Miao, I and Princess Zi Xia will wait for you at the Azure Sky Pavilion." Yes, Empress. After Princess Miao Miao and the others knelt, they watched as the East Sea Empress held Princess Zi Xia's hand and accompanied her into the palace. Then, they followed the other female officials into the side door. After entering the palace, they saw that it wasn't an ordinary palace. Instead, it was an expanse of lakes and mountains. What greeted them was a vast expanse of blue waves. The blue waves were like a mirror, reflecting all the strange scenes in the heavens above. When they looked at the heavens above, they saw that it wasn't a blue sky and white clouds. Instead, layers of 9-colored clouds formed a jade necklace, hanging above everyone's heads like lanterns and streamers. As if a gust of wind had blown past, the jade necklace swayed, and the entire sky swayed. Amidst the layers of jade necklace, even more multicolored clouds condensed into auspicious shapes of dragons and phoenixes. When these auspicious shapes fell into the blue waves surged like waves. Pillars of Aoran Chi that pierced through the heavens and the earth rose like steam, surging between the heavens and the earth. It was somewhat similar to the Buddhist light of the Buddhist sect. Countless images of mountains and rivers flashed out from these pillars of Aoran Chi. The sounds of war and war, the sounds of men plowing and women weaving, all appeared before everyone's eyes. However, the East Sea Empress and the others didn't pay attention to these beautiful scenes. Instead, they stepped into the auspicious shapes and landed on the blue waves. Clouds immediately surged out from the blue waves, supporting the East Sea Empress and Princess Zi Xia. They transformed into rainbows that fell into the depths of the blue waves. Wherever the rainbows passed, the jade necklace seemed to be blown by the wind, splitting into two. In just a moment, as the jade necklace swayed, a blue flower appeared in the air. This flower was sparkling and translucent, overflowing with precious light. Before it even flew close, a fragrance that seeped into one's heart followed everyone's gaze, emerging from their noses and mouths. When the fragrance filled the air, the space near the flower lit up with 9 colors. These 9 colors pushed the jade necklace apart, and countless lines and contours appeared between the gaps. When the East Sea Empress flew to the front of the lines, these lines quickly combined, and a jade-colored huading appeared before everyone's eyes. When the huading appeared, a rainbow bridge stretched out from the huading and caught the clouds beneath everyone's feet. When the rainbow bridge shrank, everyone's figures gradually disappeared before they could even touch the huading. Chapter 46-69. Emerald Sky Pavilion was naturally a pavilion, but when Baikan followed Princess Zi Xia into the pavilion, she saw that it was actually a heavenly abode. Above her head was a clear sky, below her feet was a vast expanse of blue water, and around her were glittering golden flowers that appeared and disappeared with her every breath. How could she not know that this was the Jade Pool's heavenly abode? And didn't think it was strange. She carefully lowered her head and followed beside Princess Xixia. When the East Sea Empress sat down, Princess Xixia stood beside her. The East Sea Empress raised her hand and a seat that looked like a flower bud appeared out of thin air. She smiled and said, "Exan. Xixia, now that you have a title, you can have a place in Emerald Sky Pavilion. Take a seat." Tears appeared in Princess Xixia's eyes. Looking at the picturesque East Sea Empress, she knew that although the East Sea Empress didn't look old, her state of mind was full of vicissitudes. Just her matters alone made the East Sea Empress worry a lot. If the East Sea Empress hadn't demoted by and from the heavenly abode, she didn't know when she would be able to see the light of day again. Of course, Princess Xixia knew that in addition to the East Sea Empress, she also had Xiao Hua, who valued his promises like gold. As long as Xiao Hua knew about her, he would definitely search high and low for her. With Xiao Hua's strength, she would definitely be able to escape. However, facing the mother who gave birth to her, Princess Xixia felt a rare warmth. She lowered her head and said, "Yes, Empress." As Princess Xixia sat down, and carefully stood behind her. The East Sea Empress smiled and said, Exan, now that we are at Emerald Sky Pavilion, there is no need to follow the heavenly abode's etiquette. Just address me as family." "Yes, mother." Princess Xixia replied with a smile. Boy hasn't called mother that in a long time. Princess Xixia's words caused the East Sea Queen's eyes to redden. She wiped the corners of her eyes with her sleeve and sighed. "That's right, Exan. These years. It's been hard on you. Hearing Princess Xixia call the East Sea Empress mother, the East Sea Empress lost her composure again. Biyao and the maids beside the East Sea Empress didn't raise their heads and exchange glances. They all gently moved their bodies and left Emerald Sky Pavilion, standing outside the heavenly abode. Princess Xixia wasn't in a hurry to speak. She waited for Biyao and the others to leave before saying, "I've made Imperial Mother worry. Actually, in these 300 years. Come here and sit beside Mother." The East Sea Empress' expression was filled with love as she extended her hand towards Princess Xixia. Princess Xixia was shocked. After all, as far as she could remember, she had never been so intimate with the East Sea Empress. However, despite her surprise, Princess Xixia also understood that although she had not married Xiao Hua, Immortal Emperor Go Chen's decree had already been passed down. She could no longer stay in the Immortal Palace. This was no different from marrying Xiao Hua. It would not be as easy for the Eastern Sea Empress to see her in the future. The Empress would only be so sad and lose her composure when she was about to lose something, right? Princess Xixia also felt a sense of loss. She stood up and walked to the side of the East Sea Empress. The East Sea Empress held Princess Xixia's hand and hugged her. That warmth made Princess Xixia feel like she had returned to her childhood. "Imperial Mother." Princess Xixia whispered, "Actually, in these 300 years, although the boy had suffered some hardships, the boy had also gained a lot." When the boy met Xiao Hua, he had already taught the boy the 5 energies unifying origin technique. The boy used these 300 years to painstakingly cultivate. These 300 years were just the blink of an eye. At this point, Princess Xixia even said mischievously, "I won't hide it from Imperial Mother." The boy knew that Xiao Hua's cultivation was low at that time. The boy even thought that after he cultivated to the literary saint realm, he would break through the seal on his own. "Sigh, this kind of thing. Why didn't you tell Imperial Mother?" The East Sea Empress sighed. A bitter smile appeared on Princess Xixia's face. The Immortal Emperor's decree had already been passed down. If the boy told Imperial Mother, it would only make things difficult for Imperial Mother. Rather than that, it would be better not to say it. It's good that you weren't suppressed in the Heaven Punishment Prison crystal. The East Sea Empress still had some lingering fear as she said, Imperial Mother was afraid that you would be like Biyao and fall into the Heaven Punishment Prison crystal. There would be no righteous chi, no Heaven Earth Yuan chi, only darkness and loneliness in your eyes. Perhaps. Princess Xixia said with some hesitation, this is also one of His Majesty's plans? Sigh, perhaps. Hearing Princess Xixia mention Immortal Emperor Go Chen and thinking about the innate 5-element flags, the East Sea Empress couldn't help but think too much. She said, no matter what His Majesty's plans were, you still profited from a disaster. Tell Imperial Mother the whole story. Yes, Imperial Mother. Princess Xixia didn't dare to delay. She recounted everything that happened after she was suppressed in Liao River and how she broke through the seal. She didn't hide anything. The East Sea Queen's expression also changed after hearing this. Although she had some complaints about Immortal Emperor Go Chen, they were husband and wife after all. She had only heard about the innate 4 cardinal formation from others and didn't think much of it before. But now, she understood that if it wasn't for Xiao Hua and Princess Xixia's mystic origin water control flag, Immortal Emperor Go Chen might not have been able to return safely from Longevity Town. The East Sea Empress couldn't help but hug Princess Xixia and say, Xian, you are indeed Imperial Mother's lucky star. I wouldn't dare. This. I'm afraid His Majesty has arranged everything. While Princess Xixia was enjoying her mother's love, she was still brooding over Immortal Emperor Go Chen's suppression. Xian, you don't need to think so much. The East Sea Empress smiled bitterly and said, since you were born in the Immortal Palace and became His Majesty's princess, then you can't not face these things. Moreover, if His Majesty was really ruthless and directly suppressed you in the Heaven Punishment Prison crystal, how could you cultivate the 5 elements origin and refine the mystic origin water control flag? It was only a temporary scheme, a backup plan, a preparation, but He also had the intention to take care of you. Your injuries were also healed during the suppression, weren't they? Yes, Imperial Mother. Princess Xixia nodded and said with a smile, Boy has known about this since he was young, and this boy understands it even more now. Boy thanks Imperial Mother for giving Boy such a good opportunity to accompany Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua is a good child. Hearing Princess Xixia mention Xiao Hua, a smile appeared on the East Sea Empress' face. She said, not to mention Sun Jian, who has always been arrogant, praising Xiao Hua to the point that it's rare in the heavens and earth, even the 3 pure palace master, who he fought before, was full of praise. Not to mention the information that Imperial Mother obtained from other sources. He is already a Taoist Mahayana cultivator, but he still doesn't have a dual cultivation partner. It seems he has deep feelings for you. When did you two meet and fall in love with each other? Princess Xixia blushed slightly and said in a low voice, Boy doesn't know either. I just experienced life and death with him once, and after that, I couldn't help but like him. At this point, regardless of whether the East Sea Empress knew the details, Princess Xixia told her everything that had happened in the Mystic Water Palace at the bottom of the river. Actually, the East Sea Empress said with a smile, this is fate. Back then, Imperial Mother didn't like His Majesty. Moreover, His Majesty was much weaker than the heirs of the 4 great clans. However, after seeing you a few times, Imperial Mother couldn't help but like His Majesty. It was rare for the East Sea Empress to be so happy, and she actually talked about some past events that even Princess Xixia didn't know about. After talking for a while, Princess Xixia said with a smile, Imperial Mother, I'm afraid Sister Miao Miao has already arrived. It's not good to let her wait outside for too long. Yes, Imperial Mother knows. The East Sea Empress nodded and said, after you participate in this Jade Pool meeting, you will need His Majesty's decree to come to the Immortal Palace again. It's difficult for Imperial Mother to see you, so let her wait outside for a while. Yes, Imperial Mother. Princess Xixia was born and raised in the Immortal Palace. She had been scheming against Princess Qing for so many years. When she heard the East Sea Empress words, she immediately understood that the East Sea Empress must have some business to attend to other than family matters. Thus, she got out of the East Sea Empress' arms and said respectfully, "Boy understands." Seeing her daughter like this, the East Sea Empress was also heartbroken. However, she still hardened her heart and asked, Xian, Imperial Mother still has a few things to ask you." "Imperial Mother, please speak." Princess Xixia nodded. Boy will definitely tell Imperial Mother what he knows. The East Sea Empress pondered for a moment, then looked into Princess Xixia's eyes and asked, "The Fortune Gate." Unfortunately, before she could finish, Princess Xixia smiled sweetly and said, "Imperial Mother, forgive this boy for being unfilial. Boy has been engaged to Xiao Hua, so boy is Xiao Hua's person and no longer belongs to the Immortal Palace. My Confucian cultivator's daughter scripture clearly states that if a woman marries a chicken, she must follow the chicken. If she marries a dog, she must follow the dog. Boy must not speak about the Fortune Gate." The East Sea Empress had already expected Princess Xixia to answer in such a way. She smiled and said, "His Majesty's decree has not been made public yet, so you are not considered." Before the East Sea Empress could finish, Princess Xixia interrupted her again and said, "Then Imperial Mother will be disappointed again. Boy has escaped from the Longevity Town and returned to the Fortune Gate with Xiao Hua. He has not entered the Fortune Dao Palace. Therefore, I don't know anything about the Fortune Gate's matters." "All right." The East Sea Empress's face was expressionless. She nodded slightly and said, "In that case, Imperial Mother will not force you. However, can Imperial Mother ask about some matters outside the Fortune Gate?" Princess Xixia smiled bitterly and said, "Imperial Mother, boy has only been in the Soaring Dragon Mountain range for 3 to 5 days. Even if he wants to find some secrets to report to Imperial Mother, I'm afraid he doesn't have the time. Imperial Mother knows that I'm making things difficult for you." Helplessness appeared on the East Sea Empress's face. She shook her head and said, "But Imperial Mother still wants to ask you. Imperial Mother, please speak." Princess Xixia naturally understood the meaning of the East Sea Empress's words and nodded. "Master Xingyue." The East Sea Empress's eyes narrowed slightly as she looked at Fairy Xixia. She asked word by word, "Have you heard Xiao Hua mention her whereabouts?" "Master Xingyue?" Princess Xixia was stunned. She looked at the East Sea Empress with confusion and asked, "Why did your Majesty suddenly ask this?" The East Sea Empress thought for a moment and replied, "You can ask Xiao Hua about this secret. He naturally knows. Imperial Mother does not have your Majesty's permission, so it is not easy for me to explain. You only need to answer Imperial Mother's question." Princess Xixia thought for a moment and replied, "When we were at the Fortune Gate, Xiao Hua did not mention Master Xingyue's whereabouts to boy. So it's like that." The East Sea Empress shifted her gaze away from Princess Xixia's face. It was unknown if she had noticed the little Xiao Hua in Princess Xixia's words, but she felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from her shoulders. She nodded and said, "If that's the case, Imperial Mother will know. You've done well. We, Confucian cultivators, emphasize the 3 obedience and 4 virtues. Since you're going to be his wife in the future, you must think for him and serve your husband well." Seeing the gloomy expression on the East Sea Empress's face, Princess Xixia's heart ached slightly as she clearly thought of the conflict between her and Immortal Emperor Gochen. She forced a smile and said, "Imperial Mother, please rest assured. Xiao Hua is a man with deep feelings. If there's something, he will find the right time to tell boy. Moreover, boy is not the kind of person who is jealous. If both sides understand each other, then everything can be discussed." Princess Xixia's words had the intention of persuading the East Sea Empress. However, when she saw the East Sea Empress's ugly expression, her voice became softer and softer. In the end, Princess Xixia rolled her eyes and said with a smile, however, Imperial Mother, although boy cannot tell Imperial Mother the whereabouts of Master Xingyue, boy can tell you who is currently in charge of Star Plucking Tower. Oh. Who is it? The East Sea Empress was stunned. The gloominess on her face disappeared as she asked Princess Xixia curiously. Far away on the horizon but right in front of you. Princess Xixia mischievously blinked her eyes again. I see. The East Sea Empress's eyes lit up. She immediately understood where Su Ji and Fairy Xingyue had gone, and a smile appeared on her face. The East Sea Empress's expression changed slightly. Princess Xixia immediately understood. She asked in surprise, Imperial Mother, could it be that Master Xingyue has an extremely powerful background? The great array of the 9 states that has already been broken needs her to set it up again? Previously, Princess Xixia did not understand why Immortal Emperor Go Chen had passed the method of setting up the great array of the 9 states to Xiaohua through her. After all, she knew that with Xiaohua's ability, even a Mahayana realm Taoist would not be able to set up the great array of the 9 states perfectly. However, after listening to the East Sea Empress's words, she could not help but have an idea. Sigh. Princess Xixia naturally did not mean to ask, but the East Sea Empress sighed again. This is His Majesty's idea, not Imperial Mother's plan. Now that Xingyue is helpless, His Majesty's plan is probably like drawing water with a sieve. Let's see how he deals with this. Hee hee. Princess Xixia covered her mouth and giggled. Darling Xiao is the most stingy. I'm afraid it's not easy to take out something that is already in his hands. The East Sea Empress did not know whether to laugh or cry when she thought of Xiaohua's stinginess. She said softly, His Majesty probably has the same idea. That's why he simply let you teach him the method of setting up the 9 states. Imperial Mother. Princess Xixia did not ask much about the 9 states' great formation. Instead, she smiled and said, after Darling Xiao returned to the soaring Dragon Mountain range from the Star Moon Palace, he handed the Star Plucking Tower to Bai and Boy followed Darling Xiao back to the Fortune Gate. Naturally, the Star Plucking Tower is in the hands of Boy. That's right, Imperial Mother, Bai and brought back a lot of good things from the Star Plucking Tower. Boy, you haven't seen Imperial Mother for a long time. Take these to show filial piety to Imperial Mother. As she spoke, Princess Xixia took out a lot of rare items from her cosmos sack and presented them to the East Sea Empress. The East Sea Empress was a descendant of the Immortal Palace. What kind of rare items had she not seen before? However, what she saw was Princess Xixia's filial piety. She accompanied Princess Xixia to pick up and appraise the rare items one by one. After almost an hour, she smiled and said, Xian, Imperial Mother knows of your filial piety. This star moon is very important to Xiaohua. You must take good care of the Star Plucking Tower. With the Star Plucking Tower. In the future, even if Xiaohua has wives and concubines, he must put you first. Not only does he love you, but he must also respect you in his heart. Yes, Imperial Mother. Boy understands. Princess Xixia carefully agreed again. Then, intentionally or unintentionally, she looked outside the azure sky pavilion. Ai, you are such a kind-hearted child. The East Sea Empress smiled and said, Imperial Mother only wants to talk to you for a while. You are thinking about other people's feelings. Imperial Mother, Boy only does what he should do. What other people think. Boy doesn't care. Princess Xixia also smiled and replied. Meow meow. The East Sea Empress said to the outside of the Azure Sky Pavilion, Come in. Princess Meow Meow entered the Azure Sky Pavilion. The other maids waited outside and did not dare to come in. The moment Princess Meow Meow entered the Azure Sky Pavilion, she respectfully knelt down and greeted, Greetings, Imperial Mother. Princess Xixia lowered her head and did not speak. However, she sighed in her heart. Princess Miao Miao was the least favored among the 9 princesses. However, she was also the most detached one. Princess Miao Miao was nervous when she saw Immortal Emperor Gaochen and the East Sea Empress. She did not know how to speak. Many of her answers were not in line with the Immortal Emperor and the Empress. For example, since she was kneeling, she should first call herself Imperial Mother, and then see what the East Sea Empress wanted to say. If it were the other 8 princesses, they would do the same. However, this Princess Miao Miao, even though Princess Xia reminded her many times, panicked when she saw the Emperor and the Empress. She forgot all the etiquette. Rise. The East Sea Empress was unhappy. Seeing Princess Miao Miao's lack of manners, she was even more unhappy. She indifferently waved her hand and asked Princess Miao Miao to rise. Princess Miao Miao heard the East Sea Empress' displeasure and became even more nervous. She replied, "Thank you, Mother Empress." In an ordinary family, Mother Empress meant mother. As a child, it could be called casually. However, in the Immortal Palace's etiquette, unless the princess ordered it or the Empress agreed, it could not be called casually. Princess Xia heard Princess Miao Miao lose her sense of propriety again. She hurriedly smiled and said, "Elder sister, come quickly. I haven't seen you for several hundred years. I really miss you." Princess Miao Miao naturally smiled. Just as she was about to speak, she suddenly remembered her previous greeting. She frowned slightly and looked at Princess Xia with a regretful expression. "How have you been recently, elder sister?" Princess Xia naturally wanted to find something to talk about and casually asked. Facing her younger sister, Princess Miao Miao immediately regained her liveliness. She smiled and said, "Elder sister can't be compared to younger sister. You can casually go down to the lower realm and meet your ideal husband. Even if you are punished by His Majesty, it is still a blessing in disguise. Moreover, younger sister's ideal husband is someone that Empress and His Majesty can rely on. My Immortal Palace and Empress should also talk to younger sister more." The East Sea Empress' expression improved slightly. She smiled and said, "Everyone has their own fortune. Miao Miao, you don't need to think too much. For now, you should talk more with Xia. After the Jade Pool meeting, if you want to see her, it will be a little troublesome." "Hee, Mother Empress." Princess Xia wanted to help Princess Miao Miao. She smiled and said, "Although darling Xiao is stingy, he is definitely not a petty person. If elder sister is willing, you can go to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. Younger sister will welcome you with open arms." Good. The East Sea Empress heard and smiled. She nodded and said, "Once Xia leaves, I don't know when she will return. I can't go visit often. However, Miao Miao can go in my place. Xia, the Fortune Dao Palace has 3 elders. If possible, you can find a suitable one for Miao Miao." "Oh, right, does the Fortune Dao Palace only have these 3 elders?" "Of course the Fortune Dao Palace doesn't." Princess Xia was immersed in her family and accidentally answered. But she only said half a sentence before she realized that something was wrong. She immediately stopped and looked at the East Sea Empress with a bitter smile. "Mother Empress, this boy doesn't know how many elders there are in the Fortune Dao Palace." Reverend Yun had a profound cultivation base, and he had been guarding the Fortune Dao Palace for a long time. If he was the 4th master of the Fortune Dao Palace, he would be stronger than the 3rd master of the Fortune Dao Palace. However, Reverend Yun had the 1st and 2nd master of the Fortune Dao Palace, and his overall strength was not any weaker than Xiao Lang. However, if Mother Empress is willing, this boy can talk to darling Xiao. That lightning reverend and heavenly being are both human race's Mahayana realm experts. If Sister Miao Miao marries them, it will definitely not taint our Immortal Palace. Princess Xia's first sentence was naturally an explanation to the East Sea Empress. Her second sentence was obviously a perfunctory one. She was just casually playing along with the East Sea Empress words. However, when Princess Meow Meow heard this, she became anxious and waved her hand. Xan, please don't. If Ching Ching. Princess Meow Meow realized that she had said something wrong and hurriedly stuck out her tongue and lowered her head. However, Princess Meow Meow's unintentional words attracted the East Sea Empress and Princess Xia's attention. The East Sea Empress said unhappily, Meow Meow, you are you, and Ching Ching is Ching Ching. Your matter has nothing to do with her. If you marry the Fortune Dao Palace's second elder or third elder, it will be beneficial to the Immortal Palace. The East Sea Empress's words were a little blatant, but Princess Xia and Princess Meow Meow felt that it was only natural. After all, in the eyes of the Immortal Palace and the 100 families, the meaning of marriage was more towards the family's interests. The so-called feelings were just collateral. Princess Xia was also very happy that she was able to meet such a good husband like Xiao Hua. However, Princess Xia knew Princess Meow Meow far better than the East Sea Empress. She knew that although Princess Meow Meow was afraid of the East Sea Empress and the Immortal Emperor, she was not afraid of Ching Ching and the other princesses. She frowned and asked curiously, Sister, what do you mean? Could it be that Ching Ching? This. Princess Meow Meow's face was a little red, and she even said uneasily, you have to ask Ching Ching about this. I don't know. It would have been better if Princess Meow Meow did not say anything. The moment she said this, even the East Sea Empress understood a little. She also frowned and looked at Princess Meow Meow. It would have been better if the East Sea Empress did not look, but when she did, Princess Meow Meow became even more flustered. She hurriedly waved her hand and said, Mother, about Princess Ching Ching and the lightning Reverend. Princess Meow Meow was completely dumbfounded. She did not dare to say another word. She nervously knelt on the ground and kowtowed, Empress, boy really doesn't know. Mother. Seeing that Princess Meow Meow's face was pale with fright, Princess Xia hurriedly smiled and said, Don't ask, let the boy talk to sister. The East Sea Empress looked at Princess Meow Meow with some pity, but did not say anything. Her gaze was filled with a complicated expression. It was hard to tell if it was disgust or love. Sister. Princess Xia walked in front of Princess Meow Meow and reached out to hold her ice-cold hand. She smiled and said, Don't be too nervous. Didn't you say a lot when I accompanied you to drink at Jade Brightness Palace? You and I are sisters. If I can get it, you can too. You are not inferior to anyone. Xia. Princess Meow Meow's heart calmed down slightly. Although her voice was still trembling, she was no longer nervous. She forced a smile and replied, You are wrong. Everyone is different from others. This was already confirmed when this person was born. Temperament, character, temper, and so on are not easy to change. Although you and I are both princesses of the Immortal Palace, temperament determines everything. I won't talk about others, but I will talk about you. Forbearance, magnanimity, modesty, but not avoidance. These are all things that allow you to handle things with ease. Sister knows her own limits. Being an idle princess and being able to share some of His Majesty's and Empress's worries is enough. I can't do anything. Princess Meow Meow had already said these words to Princess Xia. Princess Xia only brought it up again to ease the atmosphere. Thus, Princess Xia smiled and said, Sister's words are also very good. Just be yourself and live your life well. Actually, you don't have to force yourself. Thank you, Xia. Princess Meow Meow held Princess Xia's hand and said sincerely, Sister heard His Majesty's decree just now. Sister is really happy for you. Only a perfect girl like you can have such a wonderful life. Seeing that Princess Meow Meow had calmed down, Princess Xia let go of her hand, blinked her eyes, and said, Since Sister said Sister is perfect, do you think Sister will hit you when you are down? These are two different matters. Princess Meow Meow naturally understood what Princess Xia was talking about. She shook her head and said, If you want to hit me when I am down, there are too many opportunities. So, you can rest assured and tell me the cause of this matter. Princess Xixia smiled and said, if you don't tell me now, won't it be even more troublesome when Qing Qing blames you if something really goes wrong? All right. Princess Miao Miao naturally understood the stakes. Since she had already spoken and was also worried about Princess Qing Qing, when would she say it if not now? Thus, Princess Miao Miao told them about the awkward moment she had just faced Princess Qing Qing. For a moment, Princess Xixia and the East Sea Empress looked at each other in dismay. Although what Princess Miao Miao said wasn't very strange and couldn't be considered evidence, and could even be said to be baseless guesses, from a woman's intuition, there was definitely something wrong with Princess Qing Qing's thoughts. What exactly is going on? The East Sea Empress was somewhat angry and asked in a low voice. Empress, the boy doesn't know. The boy only just found out about these clues. The moment the East Sea Empress spoke, Princess Miao Miao lost her composure and hurriedly answered. Princess Xixia smiled and said, Mother, the matter isn't clear yet. Why get angry now? Didn't Qing Qing see the Thunder Immortal during the Battle of Day and Mu Cliff? Why don't we just ask what exactly happened? Where are the female officials of Jasper Flower Palace? The East Sea Empress was angry again, as if this matter should have been reported by a female official long ago. Summon the female officials of Jasper Flower Palace. Princess Xixia smiled and shouted outside. Following Princess Xixia's voice, a portion of the female officials of Jasper Flower Palace flew into Jade Sky Pavilion and respectfully knelt down. Which one of you participated in the Battle of Day and Mu Cliff with Qing Qing? Princess Xixia's tone was very strict, far from the gentle tone she used to speak to Princess Miao Miao. The female officials looked at each other and shook their heads. They whispered, this servant didn't go to Day and Mu Cliff. Where is Yu Xiajing? Princess Xixia asked indifferently. Princess Xixia, Yu Xiajing was worried about Princess Qing Qing's injuries, so she went to look after the princess. The female officials didn't dare to stand up and hurriedly replied, please calm down, Empress. The East Sea Empress nodded. How could she punish such a loyal female official? Go and summon Yu Xiajing. Princess Xixia's face was expressionless as she continued to give the order. Moments later, Yu Xiajing was ordered to arrive at Jade Sky Pavilion. As soon as she flew in, she immediately felt that something was wrong. After all, the female officials of Jasper Flower Palace were still kneeling on the ground, and the East Sea Empress looked displeased. Yu Xiajing didn't even think as she knelt down and kowtowed, this servant greets Empress. Princess Qing Qing's injuries haven't healed yet. If Empress wants to punish. This servant doesn't dare to say that I'll take responsibility, but Empress, please postpone the punishment. Yu Xiajing's words were very appropriate, and the East Sea Empress heard it and nodded slightly. Beside her, Princess Xixia thought for a moment and smiled, Yu Xiajing, don't be afraid. Empress just wants to ask about Chao Muya's situation. Chao Muya. Yu Xiajing was confused and whispered, what do Empress and Princess want to ask? This servant doesn't dare to keep quiet. Stand up. Princess Xixia ordered, then looked at the other female officials, you may leave. Yes, Princess. The female officials didn't seem to find it strange that Princess Xixia was giving orders in Jade Sky Pavilion. They respectfully bowed and left Jade Sky Pavilion. The East Sea Empress looked at Princess Xixia with satisfaction. After all, what Yu Xiajing was about to say might affect Princess Qing Qing's reputation, or even more seriously. Who knew if there were other princesses or spies of the four great clans among the female officials of Jasper Flower Palace? Yu Xiajing, tell me, what happened between Qing Qing and Thunder Immortal? Princess Xixia didn't know how to phrase it, so she could only ask ambiguously. Who would have thought that once Princess Xixia said that, Yu Xiajing's face turned cold. Anger flashed in her eyes. Even her tone became somewhat ambiguous. She coldly said, Your Highness, others may not know about this, but how could you not know about it? Back then, my princess only injured you. Now, not only did you injure my princess, you even want to ruin my princess's reputation. Princess Xia, you truly deserve to be called Xia. Men. Slap her. Princess Xia didn't hold back and immediately gave the order without waiting for Yu Xiaojing to finish. Yes, Princess. Princess Xia's voice came out of Jade Sky Pavilion, and 2 female officials immediately responded. 2 thin and weak female officials flew in and slapped Yu Xiaojing's face. Yu Xiaojing stubbornly knelt there, not daring to resist. After 2 slaps, Yu Xiaojing's face was already swollen. You wait. Princess Xia indifferently ordered the 2 female officials to leave. Then she said to Yu Xiaojing, Qing has always been headstrong and self-opinionated. Empress Dowager sent you to assist Qing to correct her shortcomings and help her deal with things. This is the key to loyalty. Who doesn't know how to ask about others' well-being? Yu Xiaojing, as a female official of Jade Flower Palace, you put the cart before the horse. You abandoned your own nature and flattered the princess. Today, you didn't tell the details of the truth, but directly framed me. How should I punish you? East Sea Empress saw Princess Xia's punishment and felt a trace of displeasure in her heart. But when she heard Princess Xia's words, she couldn't help but be shocked. Although Yu Xiaojing was loyal to Princess Qing and seemed to be protecting Princess Qing, from another point of view, she was really harming Qing and pushing Qing towards the cliff. This was because Princess Xia had never mentioned the matter of Princess Qing injuring Princess Xia in front of everyone. This Yu Xiaojing only needed to say a few words to expose the conflict between the 2 princesses. Moreover, during the battle at Chaomuya, Princess Xia had still been suppressed and hadn't broken free. How could Princess Xia have instructed the Lightning Sage to hurt Princess Qing? This was clearly slander. Damn you! East Sea Empress said angrily, I only called you here to ask you some questions, but you didn't answer truthfully and actually slandered Princess Xia. What are your intentions? Yu Xiaojing didn't think much of it because she understood Princess Qing's thoughts the best. Moreover, she had subconsciously made Princess Xia look bad. When Princess Xia asked about the Lightning Sage, Yu Xiaojing's first reaction was, Princess Xia had set a trap for Princess Qing. Thus, she immediately defended Princess Qing and wanted to expose Princess Xia's ugly face and so-called plans. However, Princess Xia's words immediately made her panic. After all, it was Princess Qing who had done this first. Even if Princess Xia had instigated the Lightning Sage to take revenge, it was only natural. Furthermore, Princess Xia hadn't broken free at that time. Moreover, Princess Xia didn't mention Princess Qing at all. Instead, she slapped her. This was a secret warning to her. It didn't matter if she was punished, but what about Princess Qing? How could the current Princess Qing be a match for Princess Xia, who was at the peak of her power? Empress, how much is this servant's fault? This servant shouldn't have spoken nonsense. Please punish me, Empress. Yu Xiaojing didn't hesitate to kowtow and beg. Seeing that Yu Xiaojing didn't dare to circulate her energy and that her forehead was bleeding, Princess Xia didn't say anything. An immortal palace. Although it was superior to a mortal palace, it was still a palace. Princess Xia was used to fighting in the open and in the dark. She naturally wasn't like Xiaohua. The East Sea Empress naturally wouldn't expect Princess Xia to plead on Yuxia's behalf. Seeing the bloodstains, she coldly snorted and said, This Empress just said that I hope you all can follow by Anne's example and assist your own princess. In the future, this Empress will also have more decrees to issue. You actually dared to disobey my words. You truly disappoint me. Yes, it's all this servant's fault. Please punish me, Empress. Yu Xiaojing didn't dare to argue and only asked for punishment. East Sea Empress coldly snorted again and didn't say anything else. Yu Xiaojing understood. She lamented in her heart and turned to Princess Xia. She kowtowed and said, "Your Highness, this servant spoke nonsense just now. Please punish me. This matter has nothing to do with my princess. Yu Xiaojing, because you tried to sow discord, I will punish you severely. However, seeing how loyal you are, I'm afraid you've heard those words for a long time and have overthought them. You're also worried about Qing Qing. That's why you've said them." Princess Xia said indifferently. "Therefore, I don't intend to punish you. I just want to warn you that if you don't change your ways and offend me again in the future, if I hear any rumors, I won't let you off easily." Yes, this servant understands. Yu Xiaojing's heart relaxed and she stopped kowtowing. Also, Princess Xia continued, "When Qing Qing wakes up, you have to tell her not to judge others with her own heart. Many disturbances are just self-inflicted troubles." Yes, this servant understands. Yu Xiaojing didn't dare to say anything else and only nodded. "All right." Princess Xia waved her hand and said, "Rise and answer me. What happened at Chaomu Cliff?" Yu Xiaojing stood up and recounted Chaomu Cliff's formation and the battle in detail. Hearing that the Lightning Reverend was so ruthless that he didn't even care about Princess Qing Qing's reputation and directly attacked her chest, the East Sea Empress's face darkened, and Princess Xia was abnormally embarrassed. Not to mention a descendant of an immortal emperor, even an ordinary female cultivator would be too ashamed to face the world after being humiliated by a man. The Emerald Sky Pavilion was silent. Princess Xia's mind was spinning rapidly, but she didn't know what to say. After all, no man would do such a thing to a female cultivator. She was doubting the truth of Yu Xiaojing's words. Unfortunately, just as she was about to speak, the East Sea Empress unhappily said, "Xia." "Yes, Empress." Princess Xia hurriedly stood up. "This matter. The Fortune Gate must give the Immortal Palace an explanation." The East Sea Empress said, "The Lightning Reverend is a Taoist at the Grand Ascension stage. If he wanted to injure Qing Qing or obtain the Milky Way Grand Formations disk, he had many ways to do so. How could such a frivolous method be something a man would do?" The story of the immortal world and the desolate era is in everyone's hands. The third place tearfully asks for subscriptions. If the subscriptions exceed 1,000, the immortal world will be opened. Next, I ask for monthly votes. If the monthly votes exceed 100, I'll add more chapters. Third, I ask for recommendations. If the monthly votes exceed 1,000, I'll add more chapters. How Xiaohua went against the light to become a true saint will depend on everyone. The third place thanks. Chapter 4670. This. Princess Xia's face was burning hot as she blamed the Lightning Reverend in her heart. Needless to say, Xiaohua was the one who ordered the Lightning Reverend to injure Princess Qingqing. However, Princess Xia also understood that Xiaohua would never allow the Lightning Reverend to do such a despicable thing. If Yu Xiaojing's words were true, then it could only be the Lightning Reverend's own matter and had nothing to do with Xiaohua. The problem was that the Lightning Reverend was the Fortune Gate's second master He represented the Fortune Gate and Xiaohua. What is the Lightning Reverend thinking Princess Xia grumbled inwardly. How could he be bewitched by Qingqing's beauty at such a crucial time? Did he do such a foolish thing? Unfortunately, how could Princess Xia know that the Lightning Reverend was not a complete person let alone know the difference between men and women Qingqing is His Majesty's descendant, her status is the same as yours. The East Sea Empress scolded, "You are now engaged to the Fortune Gate's first master, yet you allowed Qingqing to be molested by the Fortune Gate's second master. This matter. Even if Yu Xiaojing was not lying, if others heard it, they would blame it on you. Xia, you have to return Qingqing's innocence, or I won't be able to answer to His Majesty and all the women in the world." Thump. Princess Xia's heart sank. The East Sea Empress' words were clear. She had to return Princess Qingqing's innocence, but how? There were only two ways to return Princess Qingqing's innocence. The first way was for the Lightning Reverend to commit suicide in front of everyone as an apology. If the Lightning Reverend ceased to exist, Princess Qingqing's innocence would be preserved. However, as a Tao Gates Grand Ascension stage expert, would the Lightning Reverend commit suicide as an apology? Who in the world had the ability to kill him? This path was obviously impossible. Then, there was only the second way left. The second way was for the Lightning Reverend to marry Princess Qingqing, and there would be no innocence between husband and wife. However, from Princess Xiao's perspective, how could she allow the Lightning Reverend to marry Princess Qingqing? After fighting with Princess Qingqing for so many years, she knew Princess Qingqing's methods better than anyone else. How could she allow a scourge like Princess Qingqing to enter the Fortune Gate? How could she allow Princess Qingqing to share her power in the Fortune Gate? How could she make things difficult for herself? And then let her happy life fall into a harem fight? Moreover, Princess Wuxia understood that the Immortal Palace would not give up on annexing and coveting the Fortune Gate just because she had married into the Fortune Gate. Once Princess Qingqing entered the Fortune Gate, and Xiao Hua ascended, the entire Fortune Gate would fall into chaos. At the very least, the Fortune Gate would be divided into two, and Xiao Hua's painstaking efforts would go down the drain. Mother. Princess Xia couldn't help but ask, why are you forcing the boy like this? Force? The East Sea Empress smiled faintly. She naturally understood Princess Xia's thoughts and replied, in Mother's eyes, you are Mother's princess, and Qingqing is also Mother's princess. Mother is happy that you have found a husband you like, and Qingqing is also happy that Qingqing has found a husband she likes. Hearing this, Princess Xia immediately thought of how Princess Qingqing and Princess Miao Miao were trying to cover things up. She even thought of Princess Qingqing's shame and anger when she heard that she had been bestowed the title of Princess Xia. That kind of shame and anger was not because she had been bestowed the title of Princess Xia, but because she had found her husband first. Moreover, Princess Qingqing also understood that she would definitely stop her and the Lightning Reverend from getting together. That little bit of affection in her heart would definitely come to an end. Xian, you have your own happiness, and Qingqing also has her own happiness. You can't stop Qingqing's happiness because of your own happiness. The East Sea Empress said with a smile, moreover, you have no right to stop Qingqing from finding her own happiness. The East Sea Empress's words were very dignified, but in Princess Xia's ears, they were ear-piercing. As a mother, it was absolutely natural for her to make such plans for her daughter. However, if an empress were to make such plans for her own princess, then there were too many implications. When familial love met power, familial love could only turn into snow under the sun, especially the princess of the Immortal Palace. In an instant, Princess Xia made a decision. Even if Princess Qingqing really fell in love with the Lightning Reverend, she would absolutely not let this marriage be consummated. It had to be said that Princess Xia's decision was just as Princess Qingqing had expected. Empress. Just as Princess Xia was about to speak, dang, dang, dang. Outside the Emerald Sky Pavilion, 9 bell tolls rang out. As the sound passed, the outline of the entire Emerald Sky Pavilion turned into lines. These lines then shattered, turning into inscriptions of armor. The inscriptions of armor scattered all over the place, and in a moment, they turned into a part of the jade. The East Sea Empress said no more. She stood up and said, the Jade Pool gathering is about to begin. I will go and preside over the Jade Pool. All of you wait here. Except for Xia, who is different from before, everyone else has their own seats according to etiquette. Yes, Empress. Seeing that the Jade Pool gathering was about to begin, even Princess Xia didn't dare to delay. Everyone stood up and respectfully answered. Seeing the Empress leave, Princess Miao Miao looked at Princess Xia, then at Yu Xiajing, and said to Yu Xiajing, go and see Princess Qingqing for me. Yes, Your Highness. Yu Xiajing agreed. After bowing to Princess Xia, she led Princess Miao Miao away. Meanwhile, Biyao flew over. Looking at the unfriendly Princess Xia, she whispered, "Your Highness." Princess Xia didn't pay attention to Biyao. Instead, she looked at the Empress back with narrowed eyes. No one knew what she was thinking. After half a cup of tea's time, she waved her hand and said, "Let's go." Biyao didn't know what happened, but when she saw Princess Miao Miao and Yu Xiaojing flying away, she understood that it must have something to do with Princess Qing Qing. She didn't dare to ask and followed Princess Xia. Xiaohua, Celestial Being, and Thunderclap Immortal entered Lingyun's side palace under the escort of the crowd and the demonic beasts. What greeted them was a huge dome of heaven. Above the dome of heaven, the sun, the moon, and the stars were scattered all over like flags. Sunlight poured down from the sun and the moon. However, the brilliance of the sun and moon couldn't cover the brilliance of the stars. Hundreds of millions of stars followed the sun and moon across the sky, revealing mysterious trajectories. At the same time, waves of obscure fluctuations fell from the sky and rippled through the entire palace. Below the palace was a boundless land. On the land, there were many mountain ranges. Some extended horizontally, some fell vertically. The crisscrossing paths formed huge squares. These squares were like farmlands. However, there were no crops in the farmlands, but cities and villages. The scenery within each square was different. As Xiaohua's gaze swept across, he felt as if he had seen through the world of mortals. Amitabha. Namo Dipankara archaic Buddha's familiar chanting voice resounded from a distance away. Similarly, beside Namo Dipankara archaic Buddha, Namo Maitreya, who had left some time ago, also chanted. Namo Maitreya. When Xiaohua saw the Maitreya Buddha world-honored one, he was shocked. Indeed, he had always thought that the Maitreya Buddha world-honored one was still on Shenhua continent and had not come out. Even when the Maitreya Buddha world-honored one had said that he would leave quietly, he did not care at all. Who knew that? The Maitreya Buddha world-honored one's cultivation was actually so powerful. Amitabha. Xiaohua didn't dare to be negligent. He put his palms together and said, "Disciple greets the two revered worlds." "You don't have to be so courteous, Lord Guan Yin." The Dipankara archaic Buddha was very satisfied. He raised his hand and helped Xiaohua up. "Although you're my Buddhism's Namo great compassionate Guanyin Bodhisattva, you're still not my Thunder Sound Temple's Arhat. You don't have to greet me as a disciple. I wouldn't dare." Xiaohua said respectfully, "Since disciple has attained the Buddha fruit, I should understand the meaning of this Buddha fruit. I should face the world's past and future. Otherwise, what's the meaning of this Buddha fruit?" Amitabha, Amitabha. The Dipankara archaic Buddha chanted and stepped aside. Namo Maitreya. Namo Maitreya stepped forward and said, "Previously, when I called you Xiao Danua and went through life and death with you, I felt that you had wisdom and could become my Buddhism's disciple. However, I didn't expect Danua to attain the Buddha fruit of my Buddhism. Congratulations. Now that you've said so, disciple feels even more ashamed." Xiaohua smiled and said, "If it weren't for your advice, disciple wouldn't have known the true essence of Buddhism." "You're wrong, revered world." Namo Maitreya said seriously, "Buddha is in everyone's heart. As long as you're merciful and treat the world well, you'll be able to see your own Buddha. What I can do is only to tell you how to see Buddha. As for whether you can attain the Buddha fruit, that's up to you." Namo Maitreya. Xiaohua smiled and said, "Disciple understands. It's good that you've understood." Amitabha, Amitabha. Namo Maitreya stood by the side and said a few words to Xiaohua in his heart. Then, Xiaohua, Namo Wisdom Manjushri Bodhisattva behind the Dipankara archaic Buddha world exalted and Namo Maitreya Bodhisattva Samantabhadra behind the Namo Maitreya Bodhisattva. After greeting each other, they looked toward the main seat of the hall. At this moment, a loud rumbling sound resounded from the hall. 4 mountain peaks shot out from the ground. Following the appearance of the mountain peaks, the ground began to change. Cities and villages were constantly changing, and the men and women within were also being destroyed. Even in the sky, at the top of the 4 mountain peaks, 4 layers of clouds that resembled foothills appeared. These clouds changed along with the mountain peaks' protrusion. After the rumbling sound disappeared, the mountain peaks stopped moving. They landed right under the feet of the demon race, dragon race, Buddhist sect, and Confucian cultivators. As the golden-winged great rock and the mystic armored pentaceratops landed, another layer of demonic clouds rushed out from the peak of the mountain and landed at the foot of the mountain. In an instant, the entire mountain peak transformed into a monstrous demon race. This demon race had 8 arms and 8 legs. Their 8 legs stood firmly on the ground like boulders. The 8 arms were raised respectfully, lifting the 2 great sages of the Great Sage Hall into the air. Looking at the Dragon Island's second elder Aoe and the Dragon King Ao Qian of the Eastern Sea Dragon Palace, they landed on the mountain peak. Whoosh! The same layer of dragon chi descended from the peak of the mountain and instantly covered the entire mountain peak. The mountain peak transformed into a huge black tortoise, supporting the 2 dragons. Clang, clang, clang. A series of knocking sounds resounded from another mountain peak. At the place where the Maitreya Buddha World Lord and the Dipankara Archaic Buddha World Lord landed, a faint Buddhist light descended, transforming the entire mountain peak into a lotus platform. On top of the 3 transmogrified mountain peaks, thick chains of inscriptions descended like flood dragons, letting out rumbling sounds. When the Grand Shi was retracted, an indomitable scroll appeared beneath Immortal Emperor Go Chen and Dongfang Qionghao's feet, supporting them there. The 4 mountain peaks transformed separately. Only Xiao Hua, the Thunderbolt Immortal, and the heavenly being stood there quietly. There was no mountain peak beneath their feet. Xiao Hua didn't show any abnormalities. He only looked at Immortal Emperor Go Chen with a smile on his face. I don't know how many years it has been since a Taoist cultivator entered Lingyun's side hall. Immortal Emperor Go Chen said with a smile, I didn't expect to see a mortal enemy of Confucian cultivators in my Lingyun side hall. Now that I'm facing Master Xiao, I can't help but feel a sense of absurdity in my heart. To be honest, Master Xiao, if it were someone else, I wouldn't hesitate to use the power of thunder to kill you right now. I believe. Even if Master Xiao has reached the Exalt realm, you still can't face the combined forces of the Confucian cultivators, the dragon race, the demon race, and the Buddhist sect, right? Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows slightly. He didn't show any signs of panic on his face. He only smiled faintly and said, I admit that what your majesty said is the truth. I even know that even without the help of the demon race's great sage, the dragon race's elder, and the 2 exalts of the Buddhist sect, your majesty can still kill me. Maybe your majesty dealt with the primordial chaos ancestor like this? However, if your majesty wants to deal with me, then you must be prepared to be killed. I believe that after your majesty makes a move, there's a possibility of you being killed by others. Don't you think so, Dongfang family head? Dongfang Qionghao didn't seem to be embarrassed. He smiled and said, I don't know what your majesty is thinking. I only know that since enlightened Master Xiao is a Confucian cultivator and is also our Master Xiao, I didn't know the inside story and was blinded by greed. I wanted to attack Master Xiao. But who would have thought that not only was I unable to defeat Master Xiao, but I also fell into your majesty's trap. Therefore, not only my Dongfang family, but the entire 4 great families have made a decision. As long as Master Xiao is alive, the 4 great families will never attack Master Xiao. What about after I ascend? Xiao Hua asked with a faint smile. Who knows what will happen in the future? Dongfang Qionghao shrugged and looked at Immortal Emperor Go Chen. He also replied with a faint smile, when the militarists entered the Immortal Palace, they probably didn't expect today's situation, right? Cough cough. Immortal Emperor Go Chen coughed twice and smiled. This is the secret of our Confucian cultivators. How can we use it as a joke? Your majesty, you're considered the leader of the militarists. How can you not even know how to use words? How can you use the word joke here? Dongfang Qianghao laughed and refuted Immortal Emperor Gochen. The human race has always been like this. The profound armored pentahorn dragon calmly interrupted. They can't stand others being stronger than them. Whenever there's an opportunity, they'll use it to suppress others. I think the four great families can't stand the militarists occupying the Immortal Palace. That's why they came up with a new plan, right? Hearing the profound armored pentahorn dragon's words, Xiao Hua looked at Immortal Emperor Gochen and Dongfang Qianghao, who seemed to be united on the outside but were actually at odds with each other. He then looked at the Dipankara archaic Buddha and the Maitreya Buddha on the Buddha lotus. Finally, Xiao Hua's gaze landed on Aoe and the Dragon King of the East Sea, who were both suspicious and fearful of each other. He lamented in his heart, this era is the best era for Taoism to rise. I'm lucky to be in this era and be able to stand at the peak of supremacy with my Taoism cultivation. This era is also the worst era. Disasters are happening everywhere. Now, the apocalypse is coming. If we don't deal with it carefully, I'm afraid we won't be able to survive this. Dragon Sage, you're wrong. The Dragon King of the East Sea, Ao Qian, smiled. It's not just the human race. Some of the demon race and dragon race do the same. That's right, that's right. The profound armored pentahorn dragon mocked. I heard that some of the dragon race have even been conferred titles by the Immortal Palace. No wonder the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas is causing so much trouble. The Dragon Palace of the Four Seas is much less troublesome than the Great Sage Palace. Ao Qian retorted without holding back. No matter what, the dragon race of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas is still subordinate to the Dragon Palace of the Dragon Island. Roar. The profound armored pentahorn dragon's roar shook the heavens. The space around the mountain where the demon race was located suddenly collapsed and spread rapidly in all directions. Of course, this spatial collapse only reached the edge of the mountain where the demon race was located. It was blocked by a layer of invisible restrictions. Pieces of inscriptions fell from the restrictions like scraps of paper. Amitabha Buddha. Excellent, excellent. The Dipankara archaic Buddha's world lord chanted, "Dear Transcendence, the reason why we've gathered here today is to discuss how to deal with the omen of world destruction. Why have you started a conflict before we've even spoken?" The Dipankara archaic Buddha is right. The Gochen Immortal Emperor laughed. Today, the three great continents' supreme cultivators are gathered here at the Lingyun Side Hall. How can we speak without thinking? This happened because of me. I should apologize to Master Shao. Come, announce my decree. Then, the great general of the Sun Palace, Sun Jian, appeared in the middle of the hall. He held a decree in his hand and started reciting, "Ancestors, Fortune Gates Xiao Hua." This decree was exactly the same as the one the East Sea Empress gave to Princess Xixia. After everyone heard it, different expressions appeared on their faces. However, these expressions only lasted for a moment, and no one could see them clearly. Hearing this, Xiao Hua was a bit dumbfounded. This decree came too suddenly, exceeding Xiao Hua's expectations. Naturally, he was overjoyed. However, many thoughts flashed through his mind, such as Xue Xue, Fairy Jing, Fairy Hongxia, Jiu Xia, and even Huang Mingxiang. After a while, he smiled bitterly. Damn it. The Dawn Rain continent has a red cloud, and the hidden Immortal continent has a purple cloud. Does that mean there's a green cloud in the Immortal world? Another rosy cloud in the Divine world? I've refined the 7 colors bone. I'm going to fight against Rosy Cloud for the rest of my life. Congratulations Dragon Master Shao, congratulations. The golden-winged great rock laughed. I thought the Jade Pool gathering today was a Hongmen banquet. Who would have thought it would be a wedding? I'll have to toast Master Shao a few more times. The golden-winged great rock congratulated from the bottom of his heart. However, the others' congratulations were different. While they were congratulating him, they were also secretly cursing the Gochen Immortal Emperor for his sinister methods. Just a moment ago, he said he wanted to kill Xiao Hua, but in a moment, he married his 9th princess to Xiao Hua and pulled Xiao Hua into the Immortal Palace. Xiao Hua rubbed his nose as he looked at everyone's congratulations, and he laughed bitterly. Thank you, fellow Taoists. However, I haven't even been able to sit on a seat after arriving at the Soaring Cloud Pavilion. Looks like His Majesty hasn't been at ease with me. Moreover, I'm afraid everyone knows what the 9 provinces Great Formation is. However, who knows when I'll have the strength to set it up. I'm afraid His Majesty has painted a big picture for me. Master Shaolei, could it be that you're not satisfied with my arrangement? The Gochen Immortal Emperor pretended to be angry. If it doesn't work, I'll take back this decree. Sigh. Xiao Hua said helplessly. His Majesty has placed a new happiness in front of me. How can I not accept it? At this moment, Xiao Hua also understood why the Gochen Immortal Emperor didn't release the Daoist Gates Mountain first. Instead, he waited for Xiao Hua to accept the decree. Sure enough, following Xiao Hua's agreement, a green mountain appeared beneath Xiao Hua and the others. Whoosh! Just as Xiao Hua, the Thunderbolt Immortal, and the heavenly being stepped onto the mountain, several bolts of lightning descended from the top of the mountain. In an instant, the entire mountain transformed into a massive lightning bolt, lifting the 3 Grand Ascension Stage Daoist Gates Grand Ascension Stage cultivators into the air. At this moment, the 5 mountain peaks were arranged in the shape of 5 stars under the dome of the sky. The fluctuations within the Lingyun side hall gradually calmed down, and the 5 stars gradually reached a balance. Seeing Xiao Hua, the Thunderbolt Immortal, and the heavenly being sitting on top of the lightning bolts, the Gochen Immortal Emperor looked around and exchanged a glance with the Dipankara Immortal Buddha and Aoe. He then looked at Xiao Hua and said with a smile, Master Shaolei, to be honest, the 9 provinces Great Formation is the immortal defense formation of our heavenly court. It's not something that can be set up by ordinary cultivators. In fact, it wouldn't be easy for 9 supremes of the same cultivation to set it up. However, Master Shaolei might not be able to set it up, but Master Shaolei can ask your Daoist Gates seniors to help set it up. My decree didn't say that you can't ask for help. Sure enough, Xin was right. Xiao Hua thought to himself, although not every supreme being cultivator knows about the existence of Su Ji and Fairy Xingyu, Immortal Emperor Go Chen, the elders of Dragon Island, and the 2 Buddhist lords of the Buddhist sect must know. When they first joined forces to deal with the Grand Mist Ancestor, they might not have been able to kill him. They were only afraid of angering Su Ji, which was why they suppressed the Grand Mist Ancestor. Now, I've appeared out of nowhere and surpassed the Grand Mist Ancestor in one fell swoop. They also see me as Su Ji's disciple. In particular, I have a close relationship with Su Ji and Fairy Xingyu in the Star Moon Palace. The disciples of the 4 great families know about it. Even if the 4 patriarchs didn't know about it before, they know about it now. Therefore, they don't dare to force me too much. Since Immortal Emperor Go Chen didn't point it out, Xiao Hua simply pretended to be confused. He asked curiously, Your Majesty, what do you mean? Which Daoist Gates seniors can I ask for help? Immortal Emperor Go Chen raised his eyebrows and his eyes lit up. He smiled and said, Master Shaolei, could it be? Your Majesty, I don't know what you're talking about. Xiao Hua refused to admit it. He. Immortal Emperor Go Chen replied, Master Shaolei, do you think that every Confucian family is as stupid as the Changsun family in Yuanshe? Provoking Zhai Xinglu for no reason? This is the information I obtained about the Star Moon Palace. Take a look and you'll understand. Immortal Emperor Go Chen raised his hand and pointed. A book-like jade eye appeared in front of Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua took the jade eye and a light flashed in his eyes. His expression changed greatly. This was because the jade eye recorded the matter of Su Ji and Fairy Xingyu very clearly. Some of it was known to Xiao Hua, and some of it was unknown to him. In other words, These were things that Su Ji and Fairy Xingyu deliberately concealed. After the Jade Eye, there were also records of Xiao Hua and Su Ji's experiences in the Star Moon Palace. Wherever there were people, there were records. During the period when Xiao Hua and Su Ji were separated, Su Ji and Fairy Xingyu's actions were also clearly recorded. In other words, there were still spies of the Immortal Palace among the disciples who had been selected by Su Ji and Fairy Xingyu. Alas! Xiao Hua sighed and put away the light. He smiled bitterly and thought to himself, even immortals are only individuals. In terms of combat power, no one in the 3 continents can compare to them. But in terms of other things, they can't compare to an organization. Even the Star Moon Palace established by Fairy Xingyu can't compare to the Immortal Palace. How is it? Immortal Emperor Go Chen said with a smile, at this point, Master Xiao Lei can speak frankly, right? Since we're here, does your Majesty not know what happened? Xiao Hua returned the Jade Eye to Immortal Emperor Go Chen and replied thoughtfully, you still have to ask me? Of course I don't know what happened. Immortal Emperor Go Chen said word by word, otherwise, I wouldn't ask you. After the disappearance of the Star Moon Palace, these 2 seniors had never appeared again. Tell me, how can I be at ease? So your Majesty doesn't know what happened. Xiao Hua said with a smile, I thought your Majesty was investigating the world with the Supreme Heavenly Mirror. Master Xiao Lei. Immortal Emperor Go Chen said with some displeasure, at this point, I've already given you all the glory that I can give you. Can't I wait for you to tell me the truth? Xiao Hua shrugged and replied, Your Majesty, didn't I say it before? I don't know when I'll have the strength to set up this big array. Naturally, it's impossible for me to ask the seniors of the Dao sect to help me. Are you sure? Immortal Emperor Go Chen asked worriedly. Xiao Hua frowned and thought for a moment, thinking about the pros and cons of telling the truth. In fact, the existence of the immortals might be the reason why the Confucian cultivators didn't dare to kill the Dao sect's cultivators too openly, or it might be the reason why the immortals, Buddhas, and demons suppressed the Grand Mist Ancestor, or it might be the reason why they were patient with him. But in the end, these were all possibilities. The immortals were only a temporary deterrent. The most important thing was to have strength. Xiao Hua might not be able to fight against the Immortal Palace, Buddhist sect, and Demon Clan, but against any one of them, the Fortune Gate wouldn't be at a complete disadvantage. Therefore, the presence of the immortals didn't matter much. Moreover, the immortals didn't show up, so how could Immortal Emperor Go Chen not know that the 2 immortals had left? Even if he deliberately hid it, he couldn't. Therefore, Xiao Hua raised his head, looked at Immortal Emperor Go Chen, and nodded with certainty. Unexpectedly, Immortal Emperor Go Chen didn't feel relieved as Xiao Hua thought. Instead, a trace of worry appeared on his face, and he sighed. Xiao Hua didn't know if Immortal Emperor Go Chen's sigh was fake, but he at least knew that because of Su Ji and Fairy Xingyu's departure, Immortal Emperor Go Chen's plan to use him to set up the 9 provinces Great Formation had failed. Of course, Xiao Hua also believed that with Immortal Emperor Go Chen's scheming mind, he would never place his bet on the immortals. After all, he had other plans. Sure enough, after Immortal Emperor Go Chen finished speaking, he looked at Aoe and the Dipankara archaic Buddha, then lowered his head and didn't say anything, as if he was transmitting something. At this time, the Lingyun side palace was silent again. Even the strong golden-winged great rock felt that the atmosphere was a little strange. He opened his mouth and wanted to ask Xiao Hua a few words, but when he thought of how close Xiao Hua was now to the Immortal Palace, he wondered if he should avoid something. It had to be said that Immortal Emperor Go Chen's decree suddenly brought the relationship between the Immortal Palace and the Fortune Gate very close. Oh. Seeing Immortal Emperor Go Chen pondering, Xiao Hua's heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly said, Your Majesty, this Xiao has something to tell you. Oh. What is it? Immortal Emperor Go Chen was slightly puzzled by Xiao Hua's seriousness. Thunder Master Xiao, please speak. Cough cough, Your Majesty, the star-plucking tower is now my Fortune Gate's property. Xiao Hua coughed and smiled. Moreover, in order to express my feelings to Princess Zixia, this Xiao has even handed the star-plucking tower over to Princess Zixia to manage. Ah. Immortal Emperor Go Chen was obviously stunned. However, in the next instant, he smiled and said, Thunder Master Xiao is indeed a great man with deep feelings. This emperor admires you from the bottom of his heart. Damn it, what great man. He must have been discussing with Aoe and the Dipankara archaic Buddha about how to divide the stars and moons, right? Now that he knows that the star-plucking tower has been given to Xian, he immediately changed his attitude. Xiao Hua cursed inwardly. Oh, this Xiao understands now. This guy only mentioned immortals but didn't ask about the star-plucking tower. Could it be that he intends to interfere? Damn it, this Xiao shouldn't have said that. When he interferes, I'll teach him a lesson. Just as Immortal Emperor Gochen finished speaking, Dongfang Qianghao seized the opportunity and said, if that's the case, the Yuan clan and the Zhangsun clan should be warned. Their hands have stretched too far. Hearing Dongfang Qianghao's words, Xiao Hua suddenly understood. The black-clothed men he met in the star-plucking tower in front of the Crimson Earth River were the tower lords of the star-plucking tower who were preparing to betray him. It turned out that they were instigated by the Yuan clan and the Zhangsun clan to betray him. However, thinking about it, it made sense. Powerful clans like the Immortal Palace and the four great clans might know of Fairy Xingyu's origins, so they naturally wouldn't harbor any thoughts of doing anything to her. The Yuan clan and the Zhangsun clan were only first-rate clans. Seeing how prosperous the star-plucking tower was, it was inevitable that they would covet it. Haha. Immortal Emperor Gochen sneered, who dares to covet the star-plucking tower under my 9th princess's control? That's good. Xiao Hua smiled and said, this saves my fortune gate from taking action. Immortal Emperor Gochen then transmitted a few words to the Dragon Island's second elder, as if they were discussing something. Xiao Hua frowned and said, Your Majesty, if possible, should we invite the Grand Mist Ancestor to the Lingyun Side Palace? Although his forces aren't too strong, we need to discuss how to deal with the apocalypse. His sky-bearing palace might be able to help. Immortal Emperor Gochen stopped and looked at Xiao Hua with surprise. He smiled and said, Master Xiao Lei, could it be that you think the jade pupil that Brat Grand Mist Ancestor took out is his true strength? Xiao Hua shrugged, his face indifferent as he replied, then how much strength you bring out has nothing to do with this Xiao. This Xiao doesn't put him in my eyes at all. This Xiao only feels that everyone is responsible for the rise and fall of a country. He should also bear some responsibility for the survival of the 3 continents. Moreover, he is still a member of my Dao Gate and is this Xiao's senior. This Xiao feels that he has the qualifications to stand here. Good. The Golden Rock cheered, Master Xiao Long, it seems like you are still the Master Xiao in this sage's eyes. You are not the kind of person who forgets his friends for a girl. Forgets his friends for a girl? Xiao Hua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He looked at the Golden Rock and said, Sage Peng, is this Xiao so unbearable? How can you not be? The Golden Rock shouted, Old Go Chen is Master Lei and stuffed his daughter into your arms. You even helped him escape from the Longevity Town. How can you say? Cough cough. Without waiting for the Golden Rock to finish, Dongfang Qianghao coughed twice and said, Sage Peng, the past is the past. Don't mention it again. Haha. The Golden Rock laughed and shouted, Indeed, indeed. If this sage was suppressed, he would definitely kill all his enemies after escaping. Then, he would enter the Great Sage Hall openly. However, the human race is a little strange. Look at that brat Hong Meng. Back then, he was played by us until he was. Now that he has escaped, he doesn't repent and keeps coming here. Do you think he's tired of living? Could it be that he wants to be stuffed into the eye of the sea? Sage Peng is wrong. Aoe said with a smile, there was indeed a reason why I didn't kill him back then. Today, Hong Meng dared to come to the Lingyun side hall. Naturally, he has something to rely on. Isn't it just that his strength has reached the peak of the 3 continents? The Golden Rock sneered, if I'm not happy, I will still kill him. The Yin Yang Illustration Handbook. The mystic armored pentagram smiled bitterly. Sage Peng, have you forgotten about this treasure? This brat Hong Meng can be considered a genius. He actually refined the treasure that suppressed him. Now, even if you want to kill him, it won't be easy. There's also Xiao Longshi. Ao Qian, the lord of the East Sea Dragon Palace, said with a smile, this brat Hong Meng has a good idea. He and Xiao Longshi are both from the human Dao sect. As long as Xiao Longshi is here, Xiao Longshi will definitely not let anyone touch him. Furthermore, I am certain that the disciples of the Sky-Bearing Palace Hall have already been sent to every corner of the hidden Immortal continent. If anything happens to Hong Meng, if news of Xiao Longshi colluding with Immortal Emperor Go Chen and working together to kill the cultivators of the Dao sect will definitely spread. Plus, with the matter of Xiao Longshi and Princess Zixia, who won't believe this rumor? At that time, not only will Xiao Longshi's reputation be damaged, even the Immortal Emperor will be implicated. Maybe some stories will even spread. Humph. Immortal Emperor Go Chen snorted, Hong Meng's strength is nothing, but his scheming is 100 times stronger than Xiao Longshi's. Xiao Longshi, you must be careful. Ha ha ha. Dongfang Qianghao laughed and pointed at Immortal Emperor Go Chen, Your Majesty, Xiao Hua is a Daoist Mahayana realm cultivator. He is an enemy of us Confucian cultivators, but this old official can't hear any hostility from your words. Minister Dongfang, you are also a Confucian cultivator and an important official of the Immortal Palace. How about this? This emperor will order you to lead the Dongfang family, no, lead the disciples of the 4 great clans to attack the soaring Dragon Mountain Range. What do you think? Immortal Emperor Go Chen asked with a faint smile. Dongfang Qianghao didn't hesitate and said seriously, of course. However, back then, when we suppressed Hong Meng, we had to involve the demon race and the Buddhist sect. Today, the Fortune Gate is much stronger than Hong Meng. This old official wants to ask for your Majesty's favor. In the Soaring Cloud Side Palace, we will attack together with the Great Sage Hall, Thunder Sound Temple, and the Dragon Island and Exquisite Temple. Dongfang Qianghao and the others' words were full of ridicule, but in fact, there was a hint of flattery. This was extremely rare from the supreme cultivators of the 3 continents. Of course, this wasn't only because of Xiao Hua's strength. It was also because the current situation was very delicate. Immortal Emperor Go Chen took the initiative and used Princess Zixia to win over Xiao Hua. If the Dongfang family, the dragon race, and the demon race wanted to win over Xiao Hua, they had to do it from another angle. Otherwise, the balance of the 3 continents would be disrupted, and who knew which side would suffer. However, Xiao Hua's mind wasn't here. He frowned and said, everyone, this Xiao has already said that the Fortune Gate is the same as the Xiao country. It will never be a hegemon. As long as this Xiao is here, I will restrain my disciples. You don't have to worry. Now, the 3 continents are showing signs of the end of the world. Strange insects have appeared at the borders of the 3 continents and will soon sweep towards the central region. We don't have much time left. If we don't discuss a suitable countermeasure, the 3 continents will be in danger. Amitabha, Lord Guan Yin. The Dipankara archaic Buddha smiled and said, you keep saying that the world is showing signs of the end of the world, but have you really seen the end of the world? This. Xiao Hua was at a loss for words. Of course, he couldn't say that he had seen the end of the world in the ruins. If that brat Primordial Meng was here, he definitely wouldn't rush us like this, nor would he say such things. Dongfang Qianghao smiled and said, he only knows how to wait. Only by waiting will there be benefits. He only hopes that everyone can start from the latest chapters. The story of the immortal world and the desolate era is in everyone's hands. The third place winner tearfully asks for subscriptions. If the subscriptions exceed 1,000, the immortal world will be opened. If the monthly votes exceed 100, the next chapter will be opened. If the monthly votes exceed 1,000, the next chapter will be opened. How Xiaohua went against the light to become a martial saint will depend on everyone. The third place winner thanks everyone. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.